Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Should Saquon Barkley have gone for the record? I'm kidding. We're done with that, Johnny.
I'm glad we are. I saw Saquon drinking coffee before the game yesterday.
Yeah, I think he was totally fine because the Eagles are playoff bound. It is playoff week. Bring on the Green Bay Packers. Oh, man, it's going to be a lot of fun this week. It is Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas. Yesterday, in the regular season finale, the Eagles beat the Giants to finish the season with a record of 14-3. Now, they prepare for the playoffs and their wild card round opponent this weekend at Lincoln Financial Field. Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Monday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. Johnny, happy wild card week. We've made it.
The season that we've been waiting for a little while now is finally here.
Yeah, they wake me up when January comes, crew. Well, we're here. We made it. The Eagles will be playing Sunday at 4:30, hosting the Green Bay Packers. After yesterday's game, obviously a lot of the backups, majority backups played. But you heard Radio Man in the little open there, 14-3. Before we start diving into Eagles Packers, dude, 14-3. We just watched a spectacular season, starting in September, leading us to January 5th. 14 wins when they were 2-2 at the bye, John.
Well, you said starting in September. Yeah, it started in September, but it didn't start spectacular.
No.
And if you think about it, and where we were sitting at 2-2. And where this team ends at 14-3, it's absolutely crazy that the job that they did, the job that Howie Roseman did assembling the talent, the job Nick Sirianni did coaching, and more importantly, the job that these players did, I got to tell you, I feel more confident about this team than I did the 22 team. And they were the 1 seed.
Yeah, that's saying something.
I asked Gunnar this morning, what's this team's weakness? What's their glaring weakness? There's no glaring weakness.
No, there is not.
And to me, Andrew, it's as you speak to, it's been an incredible run.
It really has been. And there's so many storylines that you could unpack. You mentioned, 2-2 going to the bye, then you come out of the bye, and it's not like that was pretty. They barely beat the Browns. Sirianni had the outburst on the sideline. And you mentioned Nick Sirianni. A lot of credit goes to him for coaching.
Absolutely.
A lot of credit also goes to him for righting the ship. Now, he was the one that steered it toward the iceberg.
He did.
He did that himself.
That was all on him.
But instead of going full speed ahead to the iceberg, he said, let me get the ship back on the course that we should be on.
He did a masterful job of doing that.
A lot of people grew up this year. Jalen Hurts grew up because
sure he did.
He still made a comment about Sirianni going into the bye week. It took the two of them having to talk it out during the bye week per multiple reports now, right? The Jay Glazer report most recently a couple weeks ago that BG had to go to his house just to kind of talk things out. And I know that everybody tried to deny that claim, but I believe there was probably something, maybe not that exact.
I don't think Jay Glazer's making stuff up.
Yeah, and maybe it's not exactly those details, but I imagine a conversation was had, and that has been reported, and it was reported right after the bye week as well. So a lot of people grew up. A lot of people grew up mentally, but also a lot of people grew up physically on the field. Nakobe Dean grew up as a linebacker this year. Jordan Davis, we saw grow up.
You saw him play a whole season.
Yes.
And by the way, he was out there not getting the rest week.
Yep.
Because they needed him yesterday, and he played all 4 quarters.
He did, and he was spectacular.
And he did a great. Well, yeah. In the 4th quarter, he was sort of.
We were
watching him.
Fine.
No, I think he was just sort of mailing it in a little bit.
He was done.
Yeah, a little bit.
But look, there was a maturation process throughout this entire season for many people on and off the field, and that has led to a wild 14-3. Like at 2-2, if anyone told you that they were going to go 12-1 the rest of the season, we would have thought that they were taking some sort of prescription medication or maybe not prescription medication.
You and I and Connor all went 12-5. When we had to go on the record before the Green Bay game, we all went 12-5. They won 12 games after September.
Yeah.
So that, to me, is just an incredible, incredible feat that they accomplished. And to the Eagles, This is to me arguably the most impressive season I've ever watched this team.
I mean, it's been unbelievable with everything that has gone down. And now we get to turn our attention to the playoffs.
Love it.
And
Love
the
it.
Eagles will be hosting the Green Bay Packers. And, the Packers lost to the Bears yesterday after a game-winning field goal by Cairo Santos. It didn't matter. The Commanders ended up coming back and beating the Cowboys. There was still a playoff scenario that if the Packers won and the Commanders lost, the Commanders would be the team coming in here to Philadelphia. But now it is the Green Bay Packers with a dinged-up Jordan Love that we'll get into coming up in a little bit. But you mentioned the weaknesses and whether or not there are any. So I'm excited to talk about this today, John, because it seems like it's been a while since we've been able to talk about the Eagles.
Yes.
And by that, I mean the team.
The team, the
not
personnel.
Not the Saquon rushing record.
Correct.
Should they play starters? Should they not play starters? We haven't seen Jalen Hurts on the field since the first quarter against the Commanders, so we haven't really been able to talk about the full Eagles team. We've been talking about Kenny Pickett. We've been talking about Tanner McKee. We've been talking about Ian Book, coming up as the emergency quarterback. We have not talked about the Philadelphia Eagles, and now that we are entering the playoffs and everybody's a full go come playoff time, you saw Dallas Goedert back on the field yesterday.
A little too much for my liking, but
agree.
I understand.
I agree
and
with
yes,
you.
he did want to knock the rust off, and he did ask to.
Yes.
He asked to play.
And then, of course, Jalen Hurts will be back on Sunday against the Packers. So our question to start with you guys at 610-632-0975, either text in or call in. Are the Eagles now the team to beat in the NFC? And I ask that question because we had a chance to watch both the Minnesota Vikings and Detroit Lions play last night. And the Lions were the winners in that contest, and the Lions will have home field advantage, and they are the 1 seed.
Yes.
And look, they've been dominant all season long despite all their injuries, and, man, they're probably very thankful to have the bye week in round 1. But I will tell you, man, they were begging for the Vikings to win that football game. Early on, the Vikings had 3 red zone chances in the first half, and they finished with 6 points. That's bad.
There's a good chance we get a rematch in 2 weeks.
There is a very good chance,
If Minnesota can go and beat the Rams,
which is possible,
they would most likely end up going to Detroit. I just don't know if I can talk myself into Detroit being beaten at home.
Yeah, it's a tough place. Tough place.
Minnesota.
You saw that
is a tough
atmosphere
place
yesterday.
to play. But the Eagles do, to me, and if you're going by personal eye test, they look better than both the teams we saw last night.
They absolutely do. I mean, that's my takeaway this morning is I wake up this morning feeling very confident in saying the Eagles are the team to beat. Like, I feel like I'm Jimmy Rollins saying that the Phillies were the team to beat back in 2007. But seriously, I mean, I just watched this Eagles team, be dominant on defense with their 3rd and 4th string guys yesterday. I watched this defense be dominant 2 games ago against a Cowboys team. I know they were dead in the water, but still, you go out in that game without Jalen Hurts, maybe there's a mentality with the team that they could just try to squeak by and just beat the Cowboys, just get the job done. No, they dismantled them a few weeks ago. Like, this team, no matter what has been thrown their way, either the injury to the quarterback or the injury to a kick returner, this team, the next man up mentality, has not stopped all season long.
What I like is there's one thing that Nick Sirianni's done as a head coach that I don't even believe Andy Reid did in his tenure here. And that was the idea that I know that for the most part, you're always going to count on Nick Sirianni's teams being ready to play no matter what week it is. No matter if it's a weak sister, no matter if it's a strong opponent, they're going to be ready to play. They're going to have a chance to win. They're going to go out there. He's done a masterful job, and they've done a good. The players, yesterday was just, that could have been ugly. That could have been a rollover.
Yeah.
They took it seriously.
Oh, they did.
The guys, and it was interesting to watch.
And I loved our man Andrew DeCecco is going to be joining us for the entire 8 o'clock hour today with his new expanded role for the playoffs. You'll hear from him today for the hour, Wednesday as a call-in, Friday for the hour, 8 o'clock hour. He wrote a great story yesterday talking to the players that game did mean something.
Sure.
Like a guy like Anais Smith. That game meant something to him. 5th-round draft pick for the Eagles this year that's been hurt, hasn't really played all that much. Will Shipley, 4th-round draft pick,
Absolutely.
got a chance to play yesterday. So it was fun to watch a little bit yesterday. But let's be honest, our focus the entire game was who will the Eagles be playing in the first round, and we now know that it is the Green Bay Packers. So coming up next, we get to look toward this game on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. And Johnny, checkmate. The reason why you don't play the starters. Checkmate, Johnny.
This is interesting. I can't wait to hear this.
It's Kincade and Salciunas on a football Monday, a victory Monday. 14-3, unbelievable. Right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Not only can you listen to The Fanatic, but you can also watch on
of Kincade.
6:13 on Kincade Salciunas 97.5 The Fanatic. And if you noticed, a little bit different commercial time. What we want to do, we are a fast-paced moving show.
We are.
So what we don't want to do is have the longer commercial breaks. And usually we go 20 minutes to start the show, but then we have the long commercial break. So this is going to be a continued process of making this a fast-paced moving show, Johnny.
I like it.
So no more long breaks. I know during the breaks, John used to go walk around.
Right.
John used to walk outside.
Get some steps in.
Yeah, that's what you used to do. Connor and I just wanted to work.
You guys wanted to work.
We never played games. We would just sit here and wait.
You guys were diligent.
Until the next
waiting.
segment started. You were the one that would go outside and putz around. We'd be like, Johnny, come back here, man.
This is good. So we appreciate you. Just get used to the new clock. You're going to have shorter breaks, More of us.
Yeah, we're preparing.
Whether you ask for it or not, you get
I
more
don't
of
know
us.
how many people are doing that. We're preparing for the playoffs. That's all.
Yes.
And the Eagles are preparing for the Green Bay Packers. So, Johnny, yesterday, the Packers had something to still play for, right? If they won and the Commanders lost, they would have moved up to the 6th seed.
Sure.
And they would then be playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if I'm the Green Bay Packers and I can look myself in the mirror and be honest, I would rather travel to Tampa to take on the Bucs than Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. I think that's a fair guess to make.
Okay.
That they would rather play the lesser opponent than the 14-3 Philadelphia Eagles. So they did have something to play for yesterday. However, it was costly. So Christian Watson, they're one of their better wide receivers. Non-contact injury. I don't know what the severity is yet. It has not come out yet.
I think it's clear by his hands to the face that we're not going to see him on Sunday.
As he's being carted off the field.
That was terrible.
Yeah, which is
you
a
hate
shame.
to see that. Yeah, you hate to see it.
And then Jordan Love, during the game, gets hit as he throws. They end up working on his hand on the sideline, and then they listed him out with the elbow. Now,
it looked like his pinky was going in the wrong direction.
And so Matt LaFleur said they kept him out for precautionary reasons. And Dr. Chow, right? Dr. Chow, the football doc, he thinks it was just like a funny bone thing. And so they didn't want to mess around with the quarterback. I don't blame them, right? The second something like that happens, you go, yeah, you know what? Let's be as safe as possible and take him out of the game. Being as safe as possible was not playing the starters yesterday.
Really?
For the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay. Did you watch Pittsburgh and Cincinnati on Saturday?
Yes.
Played all their starters, both teams.
Yes, they did.
What happened?
Well, Cincinnati needed to get into the playoffs.
No, they did. They played all their starters, but what happened?
They won the game.
Both teams played the game, and they played the game, and everybody walked off the field. It doesn't mean because one thing happens in one game that one thing's going to happen in another.
Exactly. So it doesn't mean that
everybody's
argument.
gonna be
Right, what I'm saying is, so you can't make it either way.
No, you can. You could take the equation completely off the table by sitting guys down.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley, 100% chance of being healthy unless he burned his mouth on the coffee. That was the only concern for me
yesterday. Looked like the
yesterday.
Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Because
which is always good.
It's great and all that you gave me Steelers Bengals. I could fight right back and say, how about the Ravens and Browns? Zay Flowers might be missing. Ian Rappaport is already saying that he's going to miss their first round playoff game.
He thinks they're missing that game.
And that's their best wide receiver.
I didn't understand, honestly, why Zay Flowers was in the game at the why
Derrick Henry. Yeah.
Derrick Henry was in the game when he was.
I don't know either.
Like, to me, I don't know. John Harbaugh does things his way. He's had a lot of success with it. Each of them go their own different way.
Yeah.
So it's it's clear of one thing, though. And yesterday, sort of working the ears of the people who are very well entrenched down at the Eagles land.
Yeah.
It was Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman, I think, took a lot of guidance from Lane Johnson after last week's game and sort of was like, look, I'm not playing. Lane.
Yeah.
AJ don't want to play. I'm not playing. So whatever you want to do, but we're not playing type of thing. And so the whole discussion of last week was shut down by the most veterans of the room.
And I like to listen to the future Hall of Fame right tackle Lane Johnson. Here's Nick Sirianni after the game yesterday. Obviously, he talked about the players that did play, but he also talked about the players that didn't play. Here he is talking about the rest factor.
We were able to kind of create our own bye week, I guess to say, after not having a bye week since week 5. So that's good. Yeah, anytime you can get the guys rest this late in the season, it's like when we take guys out when we have a big lead in a game, you want to take them out to rest those guys as well because it's a long season and every game's so important that it's huge to be able to do that.
It's something that they earned. Look,
absolutely.
It's a choice that was earned by their own accomplishments, and now they are clear. And the only way this doesn't look good is if they come out Saturday night and lay an egg with their effort, and they look rusty or they look that they're not prepared and they get jumped. That's the only way that this would ever look bad.
And I don't expect that to happen.
I don't expect it either.
At all, Johnny. By the way, 4.5-point favorites the Eagles are against the Packers. It opened up at 3.5. Some books had it at 3, but it is now up to 4.5 as the money's starting to pour in on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Does somebody know something about Jordan Love and the severity?
Maybe. And look, even
Someone
if he's not missing the game, he might not be 100%.
Sure.
And that was the factor that goes into the decision-making of resting the starters. So coming up next, not that you should have been worried at all, we do have an update on Jalen Hurts, an update that you would appreciate if you did fear the worst. And, of course, we'll get back to our opening topic today. Are the Eagles the team to beat in the NFC? It is Kincade and Salciunas on a Victory Monday right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Eagles finished with 14 wins. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. When you need a new water heater, choose one that's built to be the best. Choose Bradford White. The Eagles backups took down the New York Giants yesterday 20-13, and Nia Smith and E.J. Jenkins both had their first career NFL touchdowns on passes from Tanner McKee. The Eagles at 14-3, and with the Green Bay Packers losing to the Chicago Bears yesterday, now have a matchup with Green Bay at Lincoln Financial Field for the wild card round. Nick Sirianni talked about the matchup with Green Bay yesterday.
That's the playoffs. A lot of good teams here, and we'll take one game at a time. I believe it's Green Bay right now, and we'll settle our sights on them. And really good football team, so not really worried about anything else other than them.
So the Birds will play the Packers, and we have the game time as well. Sunday, 4:30 p.m. at the Link. The NFC 1 seed was also decided yesterday with the Vikings falling to the Lions on Sunday Night Football. Detroit's now the 1 seed, Minnesota the 5. The Flyers fell to Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2 in overtime last night. They'll play Toronto again, but this time in Philly tomorrow night. Sixers play the Suns tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. We'll talk to Andrew DeCecco for the entire 8 o'clock hour coming up today for his response to that Eagles win. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Vacation? Business trip? Don't worry. You can still hear all your favorite Fanatic shows no matter where you go. The 97.5.
let's unpack this, right? The Eagles will be the 2 seed.
Yes.
In the playoffs. They are going to be hosting the Green Bay Packers. They do have a potential tough road ahead of them where there is a chance you would have to play a couple of NFC North teams.
All of them.
Yeah, there's
there's
chance.
potential.
Right.
You could play every single one of them.
And if that's the case, that's a pretty difficult road.
That is a murderer's row. If you're telling me to get to the Super Bowl, you got to go through Green Bay, then host Minnesota, then go to Detroit and win. That's as tough a road to a Super Bowl probably as a team is.
That's very tough. But if you were to ask me, forget the road ahead. Eagles versus Packers, Eagles versus Vikings, Eagles versus Lions. I feel comfortable in saying I believe the Eagles win any of those games. Now, in Detroit's tough.
Yeah, see, that's why
I'm not going to just poo-poo that. That is a tough place to play.
That's why I do not feel comfortable saying what you say. To me, I'm very comfortable with the idea that if the Eagles are playing at home, I'm very comfortable to say they're winning. On the road, anything can happen in a big game. Matt Ryan from CBS will join us later in the week and had a chance to catch up with Matt this weekend, and we were talking, and he said point blank, he goes, if the Eagles play at home, he goes, I don't see anyone coming into South Philly and beating them.
And he knows playing at home in
like.
Philadelphia in the playoffs pretty well.
And he's a Philly guy.
Right.
Like, he's a guy who grew up here. And he's like, I don't see anybody coming in and beating them there. But on the road, I think Detroit looks like I hear people going last night, a couple people reach out on my timeline saying, man, the Eagles are better than both of these teams. I would say I might use the word complete, are more complete than both of those teams
and
because of the health.
And healthier. I mean, Detroit, imagine if they did have their best players.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they would be a juggernaut, but they don't have those guys. And you saw a slow first half for the Detroit Lions where they were basically begging the Vikings to go in there and win. Now, look, the worst thing did happen yesterday. The Lions getting the 1 seed.
Sure, that's the
because
worst.
I do believe that week of rest for them is very, very necessary. So I really wanted the Vikings to beat the Lions so that the Vikings could have the 1 seed. I thought the Lions would end up going into Minnesota and beating them in the playoffs, and then they would have to come to the Link. So the worst possible outcome for me did happen yesterday. But I'm not going to lie to you, John. I watched that first half yesterday, and then I dozed off. All right, we get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I watched that first half last night. I'm like, all right, this team is beatable. The Vikings just didn't jump on the opportunities that they had. 3 red zone trips within the first half, and they come away with 6 points.
Do you watch it? And I asked you guys earlier, do you watch a game like I do? Because as I was watching that, I said, Minnesota has – I was convinced Minnesota had blown their chance.
Yes, I did too.
When that game was 10-9, I said there's no way that I'm going to say Minnesota's winning this game.
Yeah, when the Lions march downfield to get the field goal right before halftime, you're right. And you go, all right, all the momentum's out of the sails of the Minnesota Vikings now. The Lions will win this football game.
And they're a good team.
With their team behind them, or their fans behind them in Detroit. So it sucks that happened. But still, man, I watched that game yesterday, and I see the Eagles jumping on those opportunities, scoring touchdowns. Jared Goff throwing 2 picks yesterday. He looked average yesterday.
And again, in a big game, I said it to people before.
Yep.
Who do you count on not to make a big mistake? Jalen Hurts is so much to me. I would be so much more confident that Jalen Hurts is not going to wet the bed over Jared Goff. Just got to say it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Now, Srivatsan, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Srivatsan checks in on Twitter.
Okay.
After yesterday night's viewing, seems like the Lions are still the team to beat. Maybe Dan Campbell's aggressive play calling may finally come around to bite them in the end, but they're still the team to beat. In my list, Eagles are second, with Tampa coming in at number 3. Look, the Dan Campbell factor is real. It could.
You don't think the Nick Sirianni factor is real?
Dan Campbell's even at another level.
He is.
He's go. And,
he is.
And look, it's led to a 15-2 record.
It has. And
it also led to a loss in the NFC Championship game last year.
It did. But you're talking about the Detroit Lions, a franchise that has been absolutely – they've been nothing forever.
Oh, yeah, the paper bags.
My entire lifetime, they've been nothing. And to me, I think Dan Campbell is no more risk factor than Nick Sirianni is. He's had a better year than Nick Sirianni's had as far as like not stepping in his own.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of coaches that had a better year than Nick Sirianni, despite the Eagles winning 14 games.
But Nick pushed the right buttons and he knows the mood of his locker room, and he gets a lot of credit for that.
Yep, absolutely. You can climb in 610-632-0975, text in or call in. Are the Eagles the team to beat in the NFC? You had a chance to watch Lions-Vikings yesterday, which it seemed like those were the two more difficult teams that could be in front of the Eagles' path to the Super Bowl. How do you feel about the Eagles? It's been a while since we got to talk just Eagles. No more Saquon Barkley rushing record conversations. No more Jalen Hurts conversations. Can he throw the ball? Can he not throw the ball? You saw him do it against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it's nice that we can actually talk about the team that is the Philadelphia Eagles today. Now, speaking of Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
Nobody should have been worried. And you basically told everybody that last week.
I shared last week that I was told you don't come out of concussion protocol until you were tested to come out of it.
Right.
So, in other words, I was being told, just chill, John. There's no reason for you to be checking in on
Right,
this.
exactly. And then we got the report on Saturday from Jeff Kerr that Jalen Hurts participated in the walkthrough.
Yeah, and the walkthrough, you do not have to be out of protocol.
Correct.
You can just go through. You can take some snaps. You can do that. You're not in any physical contact, which quarterbacks don't get really physical contact anyway. But they're implementing a game plan already for the playoffs.
Right.
And I think they were already assuming Green Bay, which I find a little strange. But they were.
Well, I don't think they thought the Commanders would play it tight with the Cowboys.
I got to tell you this, though. Yesterday, I was shocked that the Commanders pulled Jaden Daniels. Because it's almost like they were saying, we don't care if we win or not. We don't care if we go to Philly. We don't care if we go to whatever. Because the Green Bay game was a 1-point game, and they pulled Jaden Daniels. So they could have ended up here for that game. I don't think Dan Quinn gives a damn at all. Like he would have been fine to come in here, fine to win to Tampa.
To lose
in
the first round.
But it's better to go to Tampa. I mean, it's better.
Yeah, they have a better chance.
It's better.
The Eagles, again, we mentioned it last segment. The Eagles are 4.5-point favorites against the Green Bay Packers. I would put them around 5 or 6 against the Commanders. I would.
I would have gone 5.5, but I get you.
Yeah.
Just same thing.
I don't lose an ounce of sleep if the Eagles are playing the Commanders in the first round of the playoffs. I'm not losing much sleep for this one. But obviously the Packers.
Wait.
I would think the Packers are the better team than the Commanders.
I do not. See, I do not. I don't think I do.
I just think they're more dangerous.
I don't think I do because I've seen the Commanders beat better teams than the Packers have. The Packers have lost to the 5. They've lost. There's 6 losses. 5 of those losses come to Detroit twice, Minnesota twice, and the Eagles.
Yeah.
And I wrote a piece for the website just to summarize in case you missed it last week. If you're talking about how dangerous the Packers are, you're just talking out your butt. You're just saying this could this crazy thing could happen.
Yeah, but
you're
I
not
could say they're more
factual.
dangerous than the Commanders. I think they are more dangerous than the Commanders. And who have the Commanders beat?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
I think the Commanders have a better offense. I think the Commanders have a better quarterback. So all of a sudden, right there. And by the way, the Commanders have a mobile quarterback, which I think for this Eagles defense has been something that hasn't looked great. So to
they
me,
stopped Lamar Jackson pretty good.
So to me, I'm fine with it. They did not do a good job with Jaden Daniels.
In the last game, no, they did not.
They did not at all. They looked overmatched.
Well, they did force 5 turnovers.
No, they did, but they didn't control him.
Yeah, toward the tail end, he had that big run that got them in his scoring position.
That fourth quarter, he ran all over them.
Yeah, but if we're going to argue quality of wins, the Commanders' only good wins this year are the Eagles with a concussed Jalen Hurts and the Bengals back in week 3. Yeah. They haven't beaten anybody.
Yeah, they really haven't.
We're going to find out how this field goes in. I'm not worried at all. Again, I'm not concerned that the Eagles are going to advance to the NFC title game.
No, I'm with you.
And to me, I said that in the summer. I feel better about it this morning after watching that regular season and then seeing how the field breaks up.
Right.
I'm fine with that.
Now you just keep your fingers crossed and hopefully the Lions get knocked off, and it would be great to see the NFC Championship game here in Philadelphia.
That would be great.
So coming up next, we haven't talked much about yesterday's game specifically, but my man Johnny Journalist was in attendance. The journalist that John Kincade is, so we can't let that hard work go to waste.
Yeah.
So coming up next, John will give some observations. There were a lot of younger players that had opportunities to really shine yesterday that you might still need to lean on at times in the playoffs.
I learned about them from Andrew DiCecco over lunch.
So you'll hear from John Kincade, Johnny Journalist, coming your way next. Also, one of the Giants players needs to be ripped. I can't wait for it. It is Kincade Salciunas on a Victory Football Monday, presented to you by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit NoPayBryant.com. We'll be right back here on 97.5 The Fanatic. about to say, we appreciate you being a part of the new ride. Different breaks, quicker breaks, more talking, which is a lot of fun. You don't have to ask us to talk more. Mainly, you have to ask us to talk less.
No one's ever asked me to talk more.
Yeah, usually my wife tells me to talk less. But sorry, that's not what we're doing on this show. Quicker breaks, more segments, 16 segments. So 4 more segments
there we
over
go.
the course of 4 hours, in case people wanted to know the math. All right, so Johnny Journalist was at the game yesterday, just working hard.
Leaning on bright minds is what I was doing.
You were doing the film study for us for Thomas Booker.
That's why Andrew
Oren
DeCecco
Burks
joins us in the 8 o'clock hour.
which we can't wait.
He'll
for
tell
that.
us what was actually happening out there.
Big moment for him yesterday as E.J. Jenkins scored a touchdown, and that's
He
been
called it
DeCecco's
too,
guy.
right?
That has been his guy, man, since he got here. But you were there yesterday, and you got to see some of the, probably underappreciated players, guys that are on special teams majority of the time, or maybe come in just to give a player a breather here and there. What were some of your takeaways while you're at the game?
I think the overall takeaway was the fact that, man, this Birds team is so loaded.
Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of guys waiting in the wings that are more than adequate to be able to come in a necessary situation and plug a hole. And I'm more looking at this, and I don't want to talk about next year
I got you.
and down the line. But that's what I was doing in my head. I was saying, this roster, arguably right now, is the best Howie Roseman roster, period.
Well,
It's the best roster because of the youth, because of the athleticism, and honestly, because of some of the depth pieces that are going to be cultivated here.
well, and that's the big thing. And look, I don't think it is unfair or too early to look ahead, because here's the deal. We saw the Eagles win their first ever Super Bowl in 2017, and then it just fell off a cliff, right?
It did. 9-7.
There was
the
a
next
lot
2 years.
of veteran players on that team. Remember, Howie Roseman kind of picked a bunch of guys like Patrick Robinson. There was a lot of veterans on that team, and then they fall off.
Sure.
2022, a bunch of veterans on that team. They go to the Super Bowl. They unfortunately lose. There's a fall off. Last year, they were one of the older teams in the NFL. We are used to in the last 10 years, we're used to 2 of the best teams in Eagles franchise history also being old.
The youngest defense in the NFL is the number 1 defense. The number 1 defense. The youngest defense, though. And there were pieces out there yesterday that I'm embarrassed to say. There were guys that were being announced on tackles or otherwise that I was getting out Google and going, okay, I got to read because I have no idea anything about it, because
You don't know
honestly,
you didn't know who Dallas Gant was?
we didn't. Well, the big key
brother.
is that's what I counted DeCecco for. I'll let him, somebody programs him for that. That's why he's programmed.
man,
that way.
their big in-season addition of Charles Harris had a tackle yesterday.
I knew Charles Harris, but I will tell you this, is that to me, I just watched that game yesterday and said, wow. And I was sitting next to New York. I got situated next to the New York press corps.
Okay.
So I was in the first seat of the Philly people next to the New Yorkers and down the row. And they were like, this team's going to be a problem for years to come.
For a long time, man. Absolutely.
And they also, and the best was, the gentleman next to me goes, yeah, and the Giants are going to be a problem for years to come, but in a totally different way.
Yeah, totally
They don't
different
have
way.
confidence that it's going to be a quick fix of any kind of sort.
Now, I need to make this clear. This is no shot at Jalen Hurts, okay?
Right.
Before anyone freaks out. This
Sure.
is no shot at Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, this is not a chance for you're not trying to hot take us.
Is there a chance he just doesn't look at Jahan Dotson?
Yes. Here's what
And
I would
don't
say.
blame him. You got
No,
A.J. Brown, you have Devontae Smith, you have Saquon Barkley, you have your own legs.
Well, here's what I'm going to say about it. Is Jahan Dotson in the progression tree was in a completely different spot yesterday.
Yes.
Because I heard people saying this. Well, it just goes to show you that if Jalen looked at Jahan Dotson, that is a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, he's their fourth or
Because
fifth read on the field.
Jahan Dotson yesterday was getting the reads that A.J. Brown gets.
Right.
Now, Jahan Dotson looked great
Yeah.
yesterday.
He looked like his rookie self where you said, wow, this guy's exploding onto the scene. Of course, he gets hurt in
Right.
year 2, and then the Eagles acquire him this offseason.
But Jahan Dotson was not in the normal progression tree of where he's at when A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are in there. And honestly, I'm a little embarrassed for the people that were tweeting that.
no, I get it.
I'm embarrassed for them because you're not paying attention to football.
Now-
if it's like he was the first read, and by the way, he was Tanner McKee, that was fun to watch.
It was fun to watch for Tanner McKee. So I'll ask
the Mormon Missile, baby.
about Dotson. Would you feel more comfortable if there was a game where he needed to be elevated to wide receiver too? I mean, yesterday he showed you that he still has talent. 7 catches for 94 yards against the Giants, who still were playing their starters.
They were playing a lot of their starters. They played like half of their offensive line starters.
Yeah, but I'm talking defense. They had those big guys up front playing.
They did, and I was impressed by it all. And yes, I feel better about Jahan Dotson today after being put in a situation like that to show what he's about.
That doesn't mean you have to like the trade.
No,
because look, you still traded some decent draft capital for like your 5th option.
Correct.
Right.
But we're going to be glad. Look, if one of those wide receivers,
God forbid,
twist the knee, yes, or whatever,
right,
we're going to be damn glad that we got it.
Also, in hindsight, what else did this team need?
Needed depth at wide receiver.
They're stacked everywhere.
No,
so
but
it's kind of just like you can get away with a trade that might not be as valuable as what you gave up because you didn't have other holes.
And I was advocating for a 3rd wide receiver, if you remember that,
right.
during the spring and the summer. I'm like, who's the 3rd wide receiver if one of these guys goes down? And little did we know that AJ and Devontae would both go down for some significant time this year.
Yeah, the weird thing is when they did call like a 3rd wide receiver's name in a game, it was Covey early on. Remember the first 3 weeks of the season, Covey was getting a lot of targets?
And I had said at the time, I was told that was a learning curve issue.
Yeah, he'd been here.
Yeah.
He'd been here, he understood.
Dotson was still trying to figure out
But the thing is, it was a new offense with Kellen Moore, but I guess it was a comfortable offense for Britton Covey.
Now, real quick, one more thing from yesterday's game. Obviously, we're not talking much about
the
Week 18 game yesterday
right.
between the Eagles and Giants. That meant nothing, and most of the stars weren't playing. Malik Neighbors. Now, he's good.
Oh, no. He's really good.
He's really good, and he will be the problem in the NFC East in terms of a talented player on the New York Giants.
When they get a quarterback.
Yeah. He scores a touchdown yesterday late in the game. You were there, Johnny.
Oh, my gosh.
How many seats were empty at that point in the game?
It was probably 60% full.
Because it was freezing cold.
It was
the
frigid.
Game meant nothing.
And they were blowing them out.
Yeah.
The tailgate scene yesterday was the most mediocre I've ever seen.
And I don't blame anybody.
And I understand it.
The Eagles rested their starters. The tailgaters rested themselves.
Well, they rested up for the next couple weekends.
Of course.
It was bitter cold yesterday.
So Malik Neighbors scores a touchdown to make it a 1-score game. And he's jawing at fans.
He acted like he accomplished something. Malik, you didn't accomplish jack. You didn't even cover my bet for me.
Well, he did accomplish something.
What?
He set the all-time single-season receptions record for his franchise.
That's great. You don't jaw at the opposing fans. He
had already set that mark.
Right. He'd already. I mean,
right, but
he'd already done that. It's like, look, everybody knows Malik Neighbors is a. I think he's a great young player.
Yeah, he's gonna be really, really good.
But give me a freaking break. Time and place, dude.
I mean, that was the funniest thing. I saw him jawing at the fans yesterday. I'm like, dude,
you got to understand, that guy may never get a time and place. That team may stink the whole time he's there. And in 4 years,
he can talk his way out.
In 4 years,
Tony
when
did
the Eagles sign him, like they did with Saquon Barkley, he can talk here. But I don't know, man. They've sucked all year, so he's probably frustrated.
He ended up not holding on to the rookie record.
Exactly.
Brock Bowers ended up getting it back.
No, but he has their franchise record for any receiver.
Yeah, sure.
Correct.
Brock Bowers, I would suggest that, once again, Howie Roseman's learned this. Shop at the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
Go to their pro day.
Just keep going to Georgia,
shop.
man.
Yeah, it's like all these teams end up with, wow, these guys are really good. Yeah, they're blue chip guys. They are.
All right, coming up next, we reset the show. Our question today, are the Eagles the team to beat in the NFC? We've got a couple of tweets coming in about that conversation. We will check our text line next. Again, new break times for us on Kincade and Salciunas.
Just get used to it.
And everything's quicker. And that's what we love about this show. It's Kincade and Salciunas on a football Monday, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles Packers in the wild card. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Cordell and Cordell. The Eagles backups took down the New York Giants yesterday, 20-13, the final score in that one. Anaya Smith and E.J. Jenkins both had their first career NFL touchdowns on passes from Tanner McKee. Nobody launched those into the stands, so both of those guys got their footballs back. The Eagles are now 14-3, so everything's good from their perspective, but they've got to keep an eye on the Green Bay Packers, who, with their loss to the Chicago Bears yesterday, will be the Eagles' matchup in the wild card round. Nick Sirianni talked about that yesterday.
That's the playoffs. A lot of good teams here, and we'll take one game at a time. I believe it's Green Bay right now, and we'll settle our sights on them, and really good football team, so I'm not really worried about anything else other than that.
That game will be at 4:30 p.m. on Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field, so mark your calendars for that one. The NFC 1 seed was also decided yesterday with the Vikings falling to the Lions. Detroit's now the 1 seed. Minnesota falls all the way to 5. The Flyers lost to the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2 in overtime last night. They'll play Toronto and Philly tomorrow night. The Sixers play the Suns tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. And we'll talk to Andrew DeCecco coming up for the entire 8 o'clock hour. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Sixers win. Play that song.
live on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Are the Eagles the team to beat in the NFC? That's our question today. We'll check the text line coming up in a few at 610-632-0975. But look, 14-3. Again, that's how we started the show. Our question today for us to debate or discuss is whether or not they're the team to beat. But just take a moment and think about the Eagles being 14-3. And then you take like the step further back, coming off of last year.
How about coming off last year and then coming off September?
Yeah.
At 2-2, there was nobody calling 14-3.
No.
And
if anybody's calling in today saying, no, I still believe.
Oh, no, I believed it.
You're lying to yourself.
No, you're not.
Or you just are always pro Eagles, which that's okay.
And
There's a lot of fans.
right.
There's a lot of fans that are like that. That's just not how I go about life.
But if you think about it, you lost one game, and it took Jalen Hurts being concussed, leaving after 11 snaps.
And oh, by the way, they were rolling.
They were running them out of the building. And that's what it took to beat the Eagles since the bye week.
Right. It's amazing.
It's truly incredible.
And it's been the change in offensive philosophy, right? The Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson meeting with Nick Sirianni during the bye week. I mean, that's going to be
Yes.
something that's going to be talked about. When the end of season post Super Bowl victory video is made, right? You know how the
day
Phillies
of the parade, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, when the Phillies do their video yearbook, the Eagles would do their video yearbook. The meeting will be talked about. The comments made by Brandon Graham, and then obviously A.J. Brown before that will be talked about. And it then led to an incredible performance by Jalen Hurts against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We talked about the maturation process of a lot of people. Jalen Hurts matured this year as a quarterback, as a leader. He was always mature as a person, right? We knew that. That guy was 60 years old.
Okay, he was professional as a person for the most part. I'm mature. His pettiness with Nick Sirianni was a problem, and it was a problem for his team. And it was a problem that had to be addressed.
Maybe when I think mature, I think about how he
his work ethic is second.
And the way he talks and
his
everything.
work ethic is second to none. His pettiness with Nick Sirianni almost derailed their relationship.
It was bad, and it was bad last year, and
Terrible.
it was pretty bad in OTAs, training camp, and, of course, the first 4 weeks of the season. But
there was no need for that.
As we found out, everybody moved on from it.
Exactly.
And everybody did the mature thing, talking it out, figuring out what's best for the team. I don't know what Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are like Monday through Saturday. I really don't. I don't care because it's working. Whatever they're doing, whatever they figured out, it has worked for the team. And it seems like they're on the same page. Everybody's on the same page. That's why you go from 2-2 and the collapse last year to a 12-1 13-week stretch.
If you look at this roster, though, and you look at what's happened since Jalen's been here, Jalen Hurts gets a lot. He gets dissed for just winning. For just winning and winning and winning. And he's been a winner his whole life.
Man, I remember some of these screaming head shows, like the one with Emmanuel Lacho.
That's a whole nother issue today.
Just gonna leave it at that.
Joy is my favorite word in the English language.
But that show, I remember after the Eagles won against the Cowboys.
Right.
Where Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee were the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
One of the guys that might be friendly with Joy Taylor was talking about how, look, see, a quarterback in this offense can throw the football for touchdowns. And it's like, really, like, people are always, to your point, always trying to find a way to bring down Jalen Hurts.
I think
the Eagles win a football game with Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee, and they find a way to take a shot at Jalen Hurts. It's amazing.
I think some of the guys who played the game don't dig him. They don't dig him. They don't dig his. They don't dig some of it, like how he carries himself. They don't dig about it. As I said Saturday, catching up with Matt Ryan, who will join us later this week. He's just like, he goes, it's a different thing. And I was like, yeah, it's not dealing with Matt. I dealt with Matt his entire career for the most part.
Right.
And dealing with Matt was far different than dealing with a guy like Jalen Hurts. They're just different people. And he goes, man, he wins.
And is that all that should matter?
He goes, he wins and he's efficient. He wins and he's efficient and does the job.
That's absolutely true.
And I don't believe there's ego in Jalen Hurts' MO as far as how he approaches it. I don't think Jalen gives a flip if he walks off the field and throws for 150 if they go out there and win by 3 touchdowns.
Well, and that was his
I
message
don't think he cares.
after the Panthers game. This is what led to the A.J. Brown comments. Remember, Jalen Hurts said Jalen Hurts will win the way Jalen Hurts wants to win, or Jalen Hurts will play the way Jalen Hurts wants to play.
Yeah,
he
third
did.
person. That was
But
a little weird.
As weird as that may have been, it's also he's just trying to tell you he doesn't care how his numbers are.
I believe,
and I support that, man.
I believe Jalen more than like anybody that he doesn't. He just wants to win.
And you know what? Good for Jalen, because I remember a couple of years ago when Carson Wentz and Doug Pederson went into Lambeau Field, won a football game on a short week, and the owner walked into the locker room after the win when everybody's celebrating and complained that they ran the ball too much.
And now running is something that the Eagles and the Ravens have sort of brought a renaissance in the run game back.
But there are people that want to win a specific way. There are quarterbacks that would probably be upset with the change in philosophy with the offense. Some quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts didn't care.
No matter what A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown's been fantastic since he's been here. And no matter how it would be spun to me, he cares about the numbers.
Yeah, he does.
He cares. He's a guy who wants to know what his numbers are.
And he got his the very next game, man.
But he is a ruthless blocker.
Yeah.
He is a great teammate.
And he wants to win.
Which
is ultimately the best part. Are you listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. Mr. Thomas, what do we have on the text line this morning? Our question for you at 610-632-0975. Are the Eagles the team to beat in the NFC? For the last couple of weeks, we have not really been able to talk about the Eagles as a team. We've talked about Jalen Hurts' injury. We've talked about Saquon Barkley and the race for Eric Dickerson's rushing record. Now that all that stuff is behind us, Jalen will be back on Sunday against the Packers. There's no more regular season records to talk about. It's just football. Eagles, Packers, Sunday at 4:30. You watched the Lions and Vikings go toe-to-toe last night, kind of. Are the Eagles the best team in the NFC? What do we got on the text line this morning?
John V. leads us off today and says, so even with Green Bay 100% healthy, I have little to no concern about this game. Big Birds win. You can take it to the bank. And after watching that Lions-Vikings game, the Eagles are truly the best team in the NFC. We got this.
Yeah, and so we had a tweet from our man Bevhead, who I know you've interacted with before.
Yeah.
He's
Bev tends to think that the Eagles get too much positive press coverage and that we're too positive on the Eagles.
Yeah, and then copy paste, but put Phillies, Sixers, or Flyers because he's the same way. He's just one of those curmudgeon guys. That's okay. I've been talking to him for years. He said the Eagles have played numerous games this year with a lackluster first half and a dominant second half, same as Detroit last night. But you don't question the Eagles, correct?
No, I do.
We do question it.
Bev must not listen before he tweets because I've said it before. I am extremely confident. You tell me the Eagles are every home game, I'm going to be very confident. Am I going to be very confident if they play at Detroit? No.
Especially if they're down 10-0 early.
No,
however,
I'm not.
He makes the point that the Lions had the issue that the Eagles have. What I'm making the point is the Vikings had 3 opportunities in the first half and scored 6 points, 2 field goals.
Correct.
If the Eagles have 3 opportunities in the first half, and let's face it, the number 1 defense in the NFL might give the Eagles offense opportunities in the first half of a game against the Detroit Lions, whether it's in Philadelphia or Detroit. Obviously, in this case, it would be Detroit. I don't think the Eagles come away with just 6 points in the entire first half. The first quarter numbers are the first quarter numbers. But they do put up points in the second quarter.
And the first quarter numbers, has that story sort of not gone away?
It's gotten better the last couple of weeks, absolutely.
In the last month, it's gone away.
So if you tell me, Bevhead, that the Eagles will have 3 red zone trips in the first half against the Detroit Lions, I will tell you that they're coming away with more than 6 points.
I would tell you that for Bev, it is, if you go back and check his tweets from the beginning of the season.
Oh, it's been like this all year.
And then check where they're at. They're 14-3.
Yeah.
And they're dominant.
Yeah.
And if Jalen Hurts doesn't get hurt, they win every game since the bye week.
Right.
But if you check Bev's tweets, you'll see this is the constant bang the drum. But I'm worried about his back. Because picking up the goalposts and moving it, those are heavy.
And
he constantly is
puts a strain on you.
He is constantly moving the goalpost. Little curmudgeon-y, but that's
definitely
fine.
curmudgeon-y.
That's fine.
Now let me ask you this question. I think Connor's going to say yes.
Connor says yes to everything, though. Hey, Connor, you want to jump off a building? Sure. When are we doing it?
Does the Packers...
It's snowing. I'd be okay.
Does the Packers' performance against the Bears yesterday make you feel even better about Sunday?
Nah.
Interesting. I thought you would say yes.
I say yes.
So it does.
I say yes, absolutely. Well, first off, 2 more guys dinged up. And more importantly, there's an energy you feel. Look, I don't believe there's teams where you could say, if the Kansas City Chiefs, is it going to shock you if when the playoffs begin, the Kansas City Chiefs flip a switch and go out and win by 20?
No, that's what I'm expecting to happen.
Right.
Only Brendan Gunn's the only guy in the world that thinks they're going to lose their first game.
We got the bet on that one coming up. It'll be good. But the bottom line is, I don't believe that the Green Bay Packers have a switch in that locker room because they haven't flipped that switch all year long.
I agree with you.
My argument is just like I don't look at the Christian Watson injury as like performance. That's an injury. That's something outside of performance. It makes the road harder. But that's non-debatable. Jordan Love, I'm not sure that he's actually like banged up like that. Like it seems like they were being precautionary because they're
and that's what they told you. But
well, they played half the game without their starting quarterback. Like, I'm not worried about the Eagles because they lost to the Commanders with Jalen Hurts concussed. I'm not going to overly evaluate the Packers without Jordan Love.
I got you. It was a precautionary move. That's what they're telling you.
You got to check out my piece on 97.5 The Fanatic later this morning because I lay out for you Jordan Love in his biggest games this year. And honestly, if you're the hype of Jordan Love and the facts of Jordan Love are a completely different story. This guy has not lived up to any of the expectation that they had of him coming into this year.
Love that. We'll be reading that on 975thefanatic.com later on today. All right, coming up next, we'll check our text line a little bit more, but also I have a question for John and Connor. And of course, people can chime in on this as well at 610-632-0975. Things that we were concerned about before the season started. How are we feeling about those today? I kind of touched on this during the pregame show yesterday about the depth because I was concerned about that. We'll discuss that more coming up next. Can't wait to hear John and Connor's answers right here on Kincade Salciunas on a Victory Monday, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Not only can you listen to The Fanatic, but you can also watch on 97.5 The Fanatic's YouTube channel.
a.m. hour of Kincade and Salciunas is presented by the Bet Parks app. You know they've got pre- and post-game shows with Seth Joyner and Derek Gunn live at Parks Casino every game day. Got to be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. It is 7.
We're all getting used to the new commercial breaks here on Kincade and Salciunas. It is 7-11 on Kincade and Salciunas. Well, you got my ear the first time like a good producer would, but then you didn't the second time.
Wow, some people would argue that if I tell you something once.
Maybe a quick reminder when I have to be prepared to talk about the Eagles during the segment.
Iggies.
And then maybe you go, hey, just a quick reminder.
Well, this is like the Eagles. Sometimes you got to learn over the start of things. There will be mistakes made, but ultimately we're going to hit the bye week, and then we're just going to hit the ground running.
All right, sure.
I'm so excited.
We can call it like that.
I'm so excited the playoffs are here.
Yeah, I mean, look, the last couple of weeks, let's be honest. Now, we have had plenty to talk about. A lot of it because of the Eagles themselves, and I'm not talking about the team on the field. I'm talking about what A.J. Brown said after the Panthers game. When everything seemed to be going smooth, obviously that game was not Jalen Hurts' best game. But I thought everything was happy and dandy. And then all of a sudden, A.J. Brown opened up his mouth, and then Brandon Graham opened up his mouth.
Right.
And then that led to a week of conversation.
Then Jeffrey Lurie called and said, that's a whole nother issue.
And then we celebrated the victory against the Steelers. And then, of course, the holidays happened. So you were out. I was out. We were taking some time off. It had been a while since we've been able to talk actual football, talk actual Eagles football, and not drama and not record chasing. And now we're getting prepared for a playoff game when the Eagles host the Packers this Sunday at 4:30, which, by the way,
and you love
very much
the 4:30.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted Saturday primetime, and I get it.
Yeah, but dude, you got to be selfish, man. That means 2 days would have gone by since we got on the air.
So the ESPN game, ESPN was getting one of the 2 4-5 games, but it came up on like a choice list. When Fox had their first choice, Fox took Eagles-Packers.
They wanted that Philly
for
market,
the 4:30
baby.
slot, so they grabbed that. So we're going to get Kevin Burkhardt. We're going to get Tom Brady. We're going to get that.
And
Brady was better
get
last
something,
time.
Johnny. You're going to get something that you were carping about for the first couple weeks of the season, the preseason, the offseason. You're going to get your home game against the Green Bay Packers that the Eagles lost by playing in Brazil.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't think of that, Connor.
Good point,
so
Connor.
there you go. A late Christmas present for
there
John
we go.
Kincade.
Jeffrey Lurie said, you know what? I want to make good by John Kincade.
He doesn't ever say that. Like he doesn't even, I can pass him in the hallway. You might get a nod.
All right, Connor, give us one more text, and then I want to bring up the preseason concern that we all had and see how we're feeling today by them.
All right, so we got Jerry from Jersey here, and thoughts to Jerry because he's a Vikings fan. So a tough loss for his team last night. But he does say, Vikings fan here, Eagles clearly the best team in the NFC and probably the league. They can only beat themselves.
What?
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Love hearing that.
Okay, that's very confident. That's
now.
I love it. Look, I think that is completely discounting, though. It discounts the Chiefs. It discounts the Ravens. I think the Ravens, they've already shown they have a good plan for the Ravens.
Yeah.
But I think that's a little rich for my taste this morning.
Now, is he saying that next week if the Eagles play the Vikings? Because if the Commanders beat the Bucs in Tampa, the Lions would play Washington. If the Vikings go to L.A. and beat the Rams, the Eagles would be playing the Vikings. Is that guy still saying how the Eagles are the best team? Or does his fandom quickly snap back into it and he says, screw the Eagles, go Vikings? Is that what he's going to start saying?
I expect him as a Vikings fan to say, screw the Eagles, go Vikings. But I do not expect that it's going to be. I think he's a man of integrity there.
Okay.
I think he's a man of integrity.
And I mean, the Vikings.
Let's give it a week.
The Vikings just had a must win. Like your season's basically over now. Game against the Lions on the road last night, and they put up how many points? 9. Could you imagine the Eagles having to go on the road against any team? Like that defense is not as good, the Lions, as what the Philadelphia Eagles trot out. And Sam Darnold had 9 points with that offense.
Yeah, and they had a lot of opportunities, and they pooped themselves, not scoring touchdowns and only getting 2 field goals.
I was absolutely shocked by that.
I couldn't believe it. With Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Aaron Jones, you have all those weapons, and that's what they come away with. All right, so preseason. I touched on this yesterday in the pregame show, and I brought it up because yesterday was the depth game. Yesterday was all the backups, right? A lot of the starters were not playing. And my biggest concern coming into this season was the lack of depth. I did not think Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean would be the incredible players that they have been this year.
I didn't think Quinyon Mitchell was necessarily going to be an effective starter.
Right, and there's remember he wasn't number 2 on the depth chart before the preseason started.
And I was thinking there was going to be a bumpy learning curve.
Yeah, and he's
going to
been
be a bumpy learning curve. He's been amazing.
So I was concerned about the depth, and man, was I proven wrong? And I'm thrilled by that. This is a show that actually likes being proven wrong. If we have a negative opinion on something, I don't root to be right. Every time a player got hurt or a player needed to miss a game, their backup stepped up, and that's why you have a 14-3 record. I know what the Eagles did in 2017 was like a Disney movie. This is probably more likely of a normal season. Guy gets dinged up. You need the next guy to step up. But the next guy always did more than just step up. Like I watched the game 2 weeks ago when Oren Burks had to come in, and he forces a fumble. The game when Kobe Dean's out because of the abdomen, Oren Burks, who didn't make the team to start the season, was a practice squad guy, gets called and he forces a fumble. Like, everybody did something this year.
There is such what was done. Again, we wake up this morning with the number 1 defense in the NFL. And to me, it's unfathomable that we're talking about that.
Yeah.
Because none of us saw that happening. I remember all summer, and the number 12 is just in my head. Randall Cunningham, love you. But it's just that I thought 12 would be their ceiling. Could they get to 12? Could they be as good as 12? No one saw this coming, and it's been absolutely amazing. And by the way, the youngest, as Reuben Frank points out on NBC Sports Philadelphia, the youngest defense in the NFL is the number 1 defense in the NFL. Dude, that's portable. That's sustainable. That is something that really makes you smile.
That's the D word, man.
Which allows you to also build on your offense, maybe to focus on that in the draft and otherwise.
Dynasty.
You got some guys to sign, though.
Before somebody gets the wrong idea.
Got some guys to sign. I loved Dynasty back in the day. You would have enjoyed it, too.
This isn't Fox Sports. Oh, God.
Joan Collins. She was great.
All right, coming up next. I want to hear your answers, by the way. Your preseason concern and how you're feeling about it today. You can chime in at 610-632-0975. What we'll also do coming up next is look at the NFL playoff. No longer picture. It is now the NFL playoffs. They are set in the AFC and NFC. What is the path for the Eagles to get to New Orleans? John Kincade has already made his reservations, so we need to make sure that those will uphold.
Reservations and everything. It'll be awesome.
It is Kincade and Salciunas on a Victory Monday morning, brought to you by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com. I'll be right back here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Birds round out the regular season. I'm Connor Thomas. This update is brought to you by Bet Parks. Join Seth Joyner and D Gunn for the Bet Parks pre- and post-game shows live at Parks Casino. For every Birds game, must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. The Eagles have rounded out their regular season. They did so with a 20-13 win over the New York Giants yesterday. A couple first-time touchdown scorers in this one. Anaya Smith and E.J. Jenkins both get their first via Tanner McKee passes. And the Eagles, well, they're 14-3, a remarkable record. That means, well, they're the 2 seed, which is a matchup with the Green Bay Packers after their loss to the Chicago Bears yesterday. That'll be at Lincoln Financial Field. And Nick Sirianni talked about that yesterday.
That's the playoffs. A lot of good teams here, and we'll take one game at a time. I believe it's Green Bay right now, and we'll settle our sights on them. And really good football team, so I'm not really worried about anything else other than that.
We also have the time and the date in addition to the opponent. The Birds will play the Packers this coming Sunday, 4:30 p.m. The NFC 1 seed was also decided yesterday. The Vikings fell to the Lions. Detroit is now the 1, Minnesota the 5. The Flyers fell to Toronto 3-2 in overtime last night. They'll play the Maple Leafs again, but in Philly this time tomorrow night. The Sixers play the Suns tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. And Andrew DeCecco will join us coming up for the entire 8 o'clock hour. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
is 7:25 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Our man Andrew DiCecco already in the building. What else is new? He's going to be joining us coming up for the entire 8 o'clock hour. Actually, he'll be working overtime. Nobody's told him this yet. Because of our new clocks, we don't start the 8 o'clock hour right at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
We start right around 7:55. And then we don't end at the bottom, at 8:55. We go to about 9:07. So Andrew DiCecco will be joining us for more than an hour.
Wow.
On Mondays and Fridays moving forward. Love that.
That sounds good.
Of course, we got our Monday morning radio host segment coming up at 7:40, adjusting some things because we want to make this show even more better for you. And we do like that we get to talk more. Trust us. We're
fine with that.
We're fine with that. All right, so let me hear your answers before we move on to the NFC playoffs. Not even playoff picture. The word picture gets removed. Before the season started, my biggest concern with this team, I was worried about the lack of depth. And boy, was I wrong, because anytime somebody went down, somebody stepped up. The Fred Johnsons of the world, right? The only time somebody didn't really step up was the wide receiver core. But, man, a fall off from A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, that's tough for any team to deal with. But for the most part, anytime somebody went down, the next man up mentality was true with this football team. So what was yours, John?
It was the pass rush.
Yep.
I thought they wouldn't be able to generate a pass rush. And I was wrong.
I was with you on that one, too.
I was wrong. That was my biggest fear. Honestly, the defense as a whole, I thought that though I had a ton of confidence in Vic Fangio, I did not in any way see what was coming.
Well, what was even more amazing about the early part of the season when they were 3-2, they weren't getting home.
No, they were not.
They weren't getting sacked. It's not like they're and the defense was actually playing okay. The Packers game was the game where they gave up the most points, but the first 5 weeks of the season, statistically, the defense was okay. They just didn't have any pass rush. And I'm thinking, well, this isn't going to all of a sudden turn. And it turned.
I mean, they finished number 2 in points allowed. Number 1 against the pass.
Amazing.
And they were still 10th against the run. So they were 10 against the run, first against the pass, second in points allowed. This defense is crazy, and overall, the number 1 defense in the NFL.
Yep.
That's absurd to me because it's something where you go, okay, look, as we joke about Andrew DiCecco, the football guy.
Right.
I think I know what I'm seeing. I think I know what a team has. This was a major miscalculation, and I still thought they'd win 12 games. But I thought that was
absolutely.
But I thought that was more a product of before the year. I thought the Commanders were going to be like 8-9. I thought they were going to be like right at that teeter-totter mark. I thought the Cowboys were going to be a little bit better and that the Giants were going to be terrible. This was a better division than I expected.
Yeah.
And they still managed to get out there. It's amazing.
No, they were spectacular. Connor, what was yours before the season started?
It was Nick Sirianni's willingness to give up control, fall into his new role as kind of this CEO overseer, and allow Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio to do their jobs. Now, from the start of the season, Vic Fangio had carte blanche to do whatever he wanted to do, and that was the right decision. But I do think prior to the bye week, there was a figuring out of where Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore's combination is going to work as far as the offensive play calling or offensive scheme. And Nick Sirianni did an incredible job over that bye week, and so did a lot of the offensive staff and the team in general.
So did the players.
Yeah, but that was my major concern was Nick Sirianni. Can he throw a wrench into what looks like to be a talented coaching staff and a talented roster? And while he might have tried a week or two.
It seemed that way early on. It really did.
He's done an incredible job post-bye week of coaching this team exactly in the way that he should be.
What we do on this show is what a lot of people should do. Point out that there were issues, but then also celebrate what they got over. We did a whole show on that a couple weeks ago.
That's fair.
There were issues with this football team. Despite their 14-3 record, despite the 12-1 record post-bye week, there were a numerous amount of issues with this football team, and not just X's and O's or players on the field. There was just a lot of nonsense, and yet they overcame all of it.
This team had
and that should be celebrated.
A lot of noise.
Yeah.
A lot of noise. And the noise was self-inflicted, and the noise was not created by the media.
No.
It was created by them. And thankfully, it didn't derail them, and it appears to have galvanized them.
Yo, absolutely. All right, so the NFC playoffs and AFC playoffs are set, but let's focus on the NFC. The Lions, with their win over the Vikings last night, will now be the 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. We know the Eagles have been locked in as the 2 seed. The Buccaneers, which, by the way, that was a crazy game. They almost lost to the Saints, and the Falcons at one point were beating the Panthers, and
then they
just
blow
fell
that
apart.
game.
Not that it ended up mattering, but could you imagine if the Saints beat the Bucs and the Falcons lost to the Panthers and still didn't make the playoffs?
Well, already I can
Very
tell
typical
you,
ATL.
there's a lot of Raheem Morris chatter already going. Pull the plug on Raheem Morris
After 1 year,
I'm
just
shocked.
like Gerard Mayo.
I got to tell you, I'm shocked he got another job. I was shocked when they hired him. You had Bill Belichick begging for the job, wanting your job, and you went with Raheem Morris because Arthur Blank is a meddlesome. He's a meddlesome guy.
Yeah. Well,
And Bill Belichick and him weren't going to mix.
and they drafted a quarterback 8th overall after signing
by the
Kirk
way,
Cousins.
I think they got to feel, the only thing they got to feel is a little good about what they've seen with
Oh,
Penn.
yeah, absolutely. But now they got to
waited
figure
too
out.
long.
Yeah,
How do you just eat the money for
exactly.
Cousins?
So the Bucs are the 3
And we lost
seed.
to that team.
Yes. Don't remind me.
Terrible.
Run the ball.
And we lost to the Bucs.
Rams are the 4 seed. Well, now they were all hurt, so I won't.
No, but still, though, you lost 2 games to the worst division in football, and that's why you're not the number 1
Yeah, that's why
seed.
you're not the number 1 seed, and that's why Saquon Barkley didn't get his record.
Yep.
Lions 1, Eagles 2, Bucs 3, Rams 4, Vikings 5, Commanders 6, Packers 7. So the Eagles will be playing the Packers on Sunday at 4:30. The Lions, of course, have the bye week, so the Bucs play the Commanders, and the Rams play the Vikings. The Commanders are dogs on the road in Tampa. Now, I said this yesterday. If the Commanders were playing the Rams, I think it's Rams all the way. I don't even think twice about it.
So you wouldn't have given them a shot.
No, I think the Rams would have battle-tested McVay and Stafford against a young team like the Commanders. A little bit different for me with Tampa.
Why?
I do think Tampa could throw all over the Commanders' defense. I don't know. I shouldn't not respect the Bucs, but I just think the Commanders can go in there and win.
I think Sunday night, I said to you before, I think Sunday night we will see an Eagles victory. We will go home preparing for the next day's show, and we will watch Tampa Bay beat Washington. And then we'll know next Monday morning that it's the Eagles and the Bucs. That's what's going to happen. That's what I believe will happen. Eagles will win, Bucs will win, and we know that that's the matchup.
That
for
would
the
be the
next week.
matchup, correct? Because they're the
matchup.
highest seed.
We wouldn't
yeah.
even have to worry about watching the. Well, we'll watch the Monday night game,
Monday, right?
But we won't have to worry about it because it won't concern them.
Yeah.
I think Tampa is, as I've told you before, Tampa to me is one of those.
Dude, they've been
concerns.
scaring you all season long. So there's a chance that the
yeah.
team that's obviously you respect the Lions, but the team to me it was the 49ers. Like I wanted them dead, right? Until they were officially dead, I was always keeping my eyes on them. That was you with the Bucs, and they went full steam ahead into the playoffs.
They did, and I think it's because they have an X factor, a quarterback. They have a guy who is a winner at quarterback, and I think that they have a coach who has made Jalen Hurts look very ordinary, despite people being like, no, look at it. Really. No. He's made him look really ordinary or subpar.
But that's the thing. We've got to keep that same energy watch with the people who are worried about the Bucs facing like Jalen Hurts and that Todd Bowles defense. Like, if you're worried about that, shouldn't he shut down Jaden Daniels easily in the first round? Like, shouldn't he be able to do that to a rookie quarterback who's never played? Like, this
well,
should
it depends. Is Jaden Daniels better at handling it than Jalen Hurts is?
Yeah, I don't think he will be.
Well, no. I don't think he will be either. That's
right.
why I think
that's
Tampa's
why
going.
They're losing. But some people are out there scared of the Bucs facing like Jalen Hurts, and then they might say, well, Washington could beat that team. Like, I don't think so.
Okay. I think Jaden Daniels looks like a better first-year quarterback than Jalen Hurts did.
First-year quarterback, yes.
Yeah, when Jalen Hurts finally got in, I think Jaden Daniels looks like a much more. Jaden Daniels was thrown to the fire early.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair.
And I
let's
think
see
he's
how
looked
year
very
2
confident.
is just like
Exactly.
CJ Stroud.
I am not exactly. Remember this offseason, CJ Stroud. Some of these outlets had him in the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Top 3.
Top 3. Ridiculous. Jordan Love was in like 5 or 6. It never happened.
Right.
It didn't happen.
By the way, the lines for the NFC games, we've told you a couple times, the Eagles are now at 4.5-point favorites of the Packers, open up at 3.5. Some books at 3.
Some books at 3.
The Bucs are 3.5-point favorites at home against the Commanders, and the Vikings are 2.5-point road favorites in LA against the Rams.
I would imagine a lot of Viking fans will make that trip.
Yeah, there's no such thing
We'll
as a
make that trip. They're gonna be
LA
able to-
Rams
right,
fan. That
exactly.
doesn't exist. By the way, I kind of give the ownership group a lot of credit. You see what the Vikings
Buying those seats
But then the Vikings fans were scoundrels.
and resold them.
They resold them and made him a lot of money. So the owners go, you know what? We're going to do something that we think's best for our team, and our diehard Vikings fans will buy those tickets and make the trip to Detroit. And then those Vikings fans said, nah, we're going to try to make more money.
We'll buy them and we'll sell them.
And yeah, they talk about how great of a fan base they are.
Skull.
The Eagles fans wouldn't have done that. Eagles fans would have traveled. Eagles fans would have walked if they needed to.
Exactly.
All right, coming up next.
And you might want to walk to Detroit because you don't want to park your car there.
Around the
Just
stadium's
saying.
better. Coming up
Please.
next, we do our Monday morning radio host segment. So we move it up a little bit with the new clocks. So you'll hear from Nick Sirianni. We react to the clips. And then, of course, Andrew DiCecco joins us for the entire 8 o'clock hour today. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia Eagles are in the NFL playoffs. The expectations are high. The anticipation is growing. Keep it here for the real and inside on the Birds. Pregame.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Our man Andrew DeCecco already in the building, and he brought us some treats that we will have to discuss coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Now, you guys already took a sip of yours. I will be waiting, and I will be doing the live review on the air of the Arctic Blitz. The only guy in the world who I know that this is his favorite Gatorade is Andrew DeCecco. And so we will be taste testing this live on the air.
I did see it at Costco. I have never had it, but till now. So Andrew was kind enough to bring it in.
Only guy in the world that I know that this is his favorite.
But I've seen it at Costco.
But maybe my mind will be changed coming up in a few minutes. But
and my favorite thing to do at Costco is to take a picture of Rayo's
and you sent it to
the
Mike.
tomato sauce, and then I text it to Mike Missanelli and go, how many do you need me to pick up for you? And sometimes he's not profane when he responds.
Well, man. There's sometimes on the station.
Just don't do that.
All right, it is time now for the Monday Morning Radio host.
Now, the Monday Morning Radio host on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, this is our chance to do what we do best, listen and react, even though I'm a football guy, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah?
So Nick Sirianni's post-game press conference took place last night, and of course it was a little bit different because it wasn't the starters. However, he opened up what I think is a beautiful statement about finding out more about how talented the depth of this roster is.
It's taken a lot of people to win 14 games. There's been a lot of contributions from a lot of different people. Had some bumps and bruises along the way, and a lot of guys have stepped in and played. You know, when you win 14 games, it takes everybody. And Fred coming in and playing a lot of plays, and Isaiah and Grant Calcaterra and Orrin Burks and Kenny Pickett, and then going out and doing what we did today with the guys that went out there and played. So good depth. Unbelievable job by Howie and his staff to get the depth in here. Unbelievable job by the coaches to develop those players, and unbelievable job by the players.
Obviously, youth is a big part of it. When your first and second round picks are as impactful as they are, the new starting center is as great as he is, a Pro Bowler in his first year. But it does take what Nick Sirianni talked about. I mean, it's a grueling season, which is why we have the discussion about resting starters or not. There are guys throughout the year that get dinged up, and you need somebody to step up. How many times has Tyler Steen have to jump in at either right guard or left guard throughout the season this year? Even if it's just for like a series. Landon Dickerson has walked off the field. Mekhi Becton has walked off the field. It takes a village, man, and this team has been tremendous.
I will say that I totally miscalculated the depth, but I'm like St. Thomas. I have to see it. I have to see it before I buy into it. I saw it this year.
Yeah, we've got it literally all season long. Here he is talking about the upcoming matchup against the Packers. How will Nick Sirianni prepare for this? Well, the good thing is they played them already this year.
Both teams are different from that day till now, no doubt. You'll use everything. When we go play a team that we played the previous year, we'll use that too. So that's from year to year. And so, of course, we'll use that. They'll use that. We understand that. It's a really good team with really well coached.
Now, we're very lucky to have Andrew DeCecco with us for the entire hour today and then the entire hour on Friday. I'm sure he can unpack the Packers and what's the same and what's different from week one to the last couple weeks of the regular season going into the playoffs, Johnny.
Yeah, I don't know what you can really draw between the first game and this game, but he'll be able to find it for us.
Yep, absolutely.
All week long.
All right, we played this clip earlier today. We'll play it again for you. Nick Sirianni telling us that rest is important.
We were able to kind of create our own bye week, I guess to say, after, not having a bye week since week 5. So that's good. Yeah, anytime you can get the guys rest this late in the season, it's like when we take guys out, when we have a big lead in a game, you want to take them out to rest those guys as well because it's a long season and every game's so important that it's huge to be able to do that.
I thought it was great for the Eagles yesterday, Johnny.
It was great that they were able to get it, absolutely.
I'll ask you, now that it's done.
Now it's done, I don't care.
Okay.
But I do. I never believe in punting on history. So I'm still not going to change on that. But to me, it's absolutely great knowing going into the playoffs, they're looking good.
But when you saw what happened week 18, some of the teams that rested starters, like Andy Reid.
Yeah, and some of the teams that played starters had everybody walk off the field fine. I mean, it doesn't.
Not everybody.
No, not everybody. That's what I said. Some of them did, some of them didn't. So there's no correlation to, you don't know if the Eagles would have been one of the teams everybody walked off fine.
But I know
and
for
I don't think it would have been long. I watched that defense of the Giants yesterday, and if you think Saquon would have needed more than 14 touches to get 100 yards, you didn't watch the game. Because there were backups galore out there, and they did whatever they wanted to do.
Well, I'm glad that they didn't even risk it. One guy who did play yesterday that was not backups galore was Jordan Davis. Played a lot of snaps yesterday.
I hated it, by the way.
I know you did, and I don't blame you. Here's Nick Sirianni talking about Jordan Davis.
The type of teammate and the type of person he is, I thought he played really good. He had there was a couple screens early on that he retraced out. Well, one screen that he retraced out in a wide receiver screen, and the other one that he kind of snuffed out, and you kind of felt his presence all game. And so it just shows you, again, you can't rest everybody in those scenarios. It's impossible. There's going to be guys that you want to be able to rest that you can't. And he went out there and played a really good game, played an outstanding game.
Remember, at one point this season, not us, we weren't talking about it, but at one point this season, do you pick up his option? You pick up his option. It's not even a question anymore. You pick up Jordan Davis's fifth-year option, and you don't think twice about it. He played 40% of the snaps yesterday, by the way, which
I believe it will come with, by the way, I do believe it's going to come with an extension.
Okay.
I think they'll pick it up, but it'll come with as part of an extension where they'll sign him to a couple years after that.
Now, I'd be okay with that. He's a big man.
Yeah,
Jordan
he is
Davis
a big
is.
man. This year, he proved that he was able to get himself in enough shape that they didn't have to worry about him down the stretch.
Yep. One more for you. We haven't talked about it yet today because we're focused on the playoffs, and maybe we should talk about it. Not that they're going to do anything, but here's Nick Sirianni talking about the field goal kicker who missed another kick yesterday in Jake Elliott.
I came out and made 2 after that. Again, we didn't lose any faith in him. He went out and ripped 2 that we needed right after that. So, it happens in this game.
Really?
Been a pretty bad season for Jake.
Really? It's been a bad season.
So he's going to still have faith in him.
This isn't a one-off. It's been a pretty bad season.
Yeah. It was
not good.
Bad. Now, it was very windy yesterday, but it probably
Stop it.
It will probably be windy this Sunday.
Yes. Stop it.
In January.
The wind. He tried the wind the last time he had a problem. Stop it.
Yeah, that one was ridiculous. I was there with you. The flags weren't
you were
even
like,
moving.
yeah, I mean,
I was
enough,
like, what wind? What are we
enough
what
of the
wind
nonsense.
are we talking about?
It's okay to just say, Nick, that he had a bad year.
And he did have 2 kicks afterward. One of them was like from 27 yards, but hey.
Exactly.
They still have faith in Jake Elliott. They're not making any changes now.
Well, you can't.
But something to keep an eye on.
Isn't somebody that's out there. That
Hopefully
going,
that doesn't hurt you. We'll see by Nick Sirianni's decisions come playoff time how he truly feels. All right, coming up next, our man Andrew DeCecco joins us for the entire 8 o'clock hour. But because of our new commercials and our new segment times, he'll actually be joining us at 7:55.
And we're not paying him anymore.
No, we haven't told him that yet.
Oh, no, if he just found out, too bad for him.
So we get to talk about yesterday. We get to talk about the upcoming playoff matchup, the playoff path, and a whole lot more. And we, of course, will show some love to E.J. Jenkins. It is Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Wild card with the Packers. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles know their matchup for the first round of the postseason. It will be a wild card rematch with their first opponent of the year. They played the Packers way back in Week 1 in Sao Paulo, and now, well, that is your matchup at Lincoln Financial Field this Sunday at 4:30. That comes on the heels of the Eagles winning their final regular season game 20-13 over the Giants. Anaya Smith and E.J. Jenkins both had their first career NFL touchdowns on passes from Tanner McKee. And at 14-3, the Eagles have had their 2 seed locked down for a while now, but that is indeed where they sit heading into the postseason. Nick Sirianni talked about the future matchup with the Green Bay Packers.
I came out and made 2 after that.
Well, and that was him talking about Jake Elliott, but he did have stuff to say about the Packers as well.
Playoffs.
And he is looking forward to that matchup with the team that they played in Week 1. Now, we know that the game will be 4:30 on Sunday, but we'll also keep an eye on what's going on around the NFC. The 1 seed was decided yesterday with the Vikings falling to the Lions. Detroit the 1, Minnesota the 5. The Flyers fell to Toronto 3-2 in overtime. They'll play Toronto and Philly tomorrow night. The Sixers play the Suns tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And we'll talk to Andrew DeCecco coming up for the entire 8 o'clock hour. This update is brought to you by Ace Hardware Home Services. Got a leaky pipe, having issues with your heat? At Ace Hardware Home Services, they're around the block with everything you need to fix it. They've got the pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Sixers win. Play that song.
The Philadelphia Flyers.
Rebound in front. Backhand shot. They score.
.5 The Fanatic on this Victory Monday morning. We've been able to say that 14 times this year.
That's absurd.
14-3 record for the Philadelphia Eagles. Good for the 2 seed in the NFC. The Lions, of course, beat the Vikings last night. They finished with 15-2 and are the 1 seed in the NFC. So the NFC goes through Detroit unless they are able to get knocked out early, and then we go through Philadelphia. But we know that the Eagles have at least 2 home games to start They host the Packers on Sunday, and then, of course, they will play the highest remaining seed. And if it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
if
because they're
Tampa
playing
wins,
the
it's
Commanders.
automatic.
Yes, exactly.
The Eagles got to win first on Sunday afternoon.
Which they will, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm feeling that way.
But how about enough from us? Now, for the entire 8 o'clock hour and into the 9 o'clock hour, he has not been told yet that he's not getting paid more for it. If anything, he actually lost money because he got us some Gatorades this morning.
Oh, he lost money.
Our man, Andrew DeCecco, joins us. What's up, Andrew?
Good morning, guys. How are we?
Well,
What are you doing?
We're doing good. We're celebrating 14-3. We're celebrating the start of the playoffs. But before we even do that, I want you to celebrate because yesterday was your Hall of Fame game. Yesterday was your Super Bowl, your World Series, your Stanley Cup. It was the backups. It was preseason week 4 or now 3 in a regular season game, and your man E.J. Jenkins with the touchdown yesterday.
Yeah, in natural football guy fashion, I enjoyed that game yesterday. Not to the degree that I would a regular season or even a postseason game.
No, I think you enjoyed it more.
No, he was the most excited guy for the game in the entire press room.
I believe that to be true.
I could have given the breakdown on who was going to play, what their stats were, what to look for. But yeah, for E.J. Jenkins, and really the case for any of the players, Anias Smith, he had a touchdown his first career. There's nothing more that I like seeing than somebody taking advantage of an opportunity, whether it be in life or whether it be in sports, whatever the case is. So for me, knowing that you see that hard work pays off, and I think that was really the message that was really driven home.
And you wrote an awesome article. I advise people to check it out. Go to Andrew's Twitter account at Andrew DeCecco, and of course he writes for InsideTheBirds.com. You wrote a story on the backups yesterday. And it was very brilliantly written, so I want to give you your credit.
You're
for
really
that.
piling it on.
No, but seriously, it was, and it's a great story because you know how we were feeling toward this game yesterday. This game means nothing. Like yesterday during the pregame show, we didn't do a pregame show. We did a pre-playoff show with Bill Colarulo and Connor Thomas. So yesterday's game did mean something for the players on the field and anybody who bet the Eagles. But the people that were on the field, it meant something to them. And you told that story beautifully yesterday.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I just tried to really paint the picture of what goes on behind the scenes and really what they were going into the game, what their goals were, and what they've been working on and what they wanted to showcase, because that's what that game was all about. It was about them trying to showcase what they've been working on behind the scenes with the coaching staff through the developmental periods and so on. So I thought that was kind of cool to see them maximize their opportunity.
I found myself yesterday not focusing on the game at hand. First of all, I'm scoreboard watching, so I'm watching the other games. I'm texting you every time something happens in Green Bay because you were in the row behind me. But it was I was with all the New Yorkers yesterday.
Yeah.
But to me, I found myself watching it going, damn, the depth of this roster. And you're there on a daily basis. You see it. You see some of these guys. You know who they are. I went to Google 4 times yesterday because I don't know the story of this player or this thing. And to me, this just tells me this thing is really sustainable. The youngest defense in the NFL being the number 1 defense is amazing.
It's incredible to think. And going into the season, John, remember, I was the one that was like, if they finished anywhere from 15 to 17, that would be deemed a success considering where they were coming from. But when you look across the board, when you have, obviously, they're from pillar to post from their starting lineup, it's really strong. But then you look at Isaiah Rodgers. You see Kelee Ringo. Kelee Ringo played the entire game. He almost had a pick 6. He's younger than Quinyon Mitchell. I think Tristan McCollum showed some good things.
He did.
As a third safety.
And I've been sort of giving him the skunk eye. And he played pretty well.
And I think everyone sees why he was probably the first safety off the bench as opposed to Sidney Brown.
Sure.
Sidney missed a lot of tackles yesterday.
Right.
But then the defensive line, Moro Jomo, Thomas Booker, they do have a lot of depth if they need to be pressed into service. But, yeah, that game kind of really encapsulates to John's point that not only is the starting unit really strong, but they do have a sufficient supply of depth behind them.
Yeah, I mean, the next man up mentality has been a storyline all season long with this Eagles team, and that was my biggest concern coming into it, that in the pass rush, and both of those things have gone very well for the Eagles this season. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. And we're joined by Andrew DeCecco for the entire 8 o'clock hour today. If you have any questions for Andrew, or if you want to answer our question today, which is, are the Eagles the team to beat in the NFC? You could text and call in 610-632-0975. So let's start there. Andrew, are the Eagles the team to beat in the NFC. Not only did we get to watch the Eagles backups play yesterday, we also got to watch Lions-Vikings. The winner got the 1 seed. The loser got the 5 seed. The Lions ended up winning, but I watched a vulnerable Lions team in that first half where a Vikings team just didn't capitalize on opportunities. Are the Eagles the team to beat in the NFC, or is Detroit still the head honcho?
I got to go Philadelphia.
Love that.
Look, the Eagles are remarkably healthy going into the postseason. I think you saw a lot of the blemishes there for the Detroit Lions. They're really banged up defensively. But when you look at what the Eagles have, they are the top defense in the NFL. They have a very prolific rushing attack and an imposing offensive line that can really wear teams down. No matter where you go, wherever you travel to, that's something that's going to translate over. And you'd be hard-pressed to find a weakness on this Eagles team. And I know that sounds silly to say at this stage of the season, but really, I mean, if you really want to split hairs, you can say pass rush maybe, but I think right now they're the healthiest team, but they're also the one with the least amount of concerns going in, I would say.
I asked Brendan Gunn that this morning. I said, what's the Eagles' glaring weakness? He said, maybe special teams? He said, I don't think there's a glaring weakness, and I agree. I feel better about this crew going into the playoffs than I did 22.
Yeah.
And they only had to win 2 home games, and we knew the first one was going to be against a weak sister.
Right.
I'm impressed. I mean, I'm really impressed the way this thing came out.
Now, I can understand if there's some concerns about Jake Elliott in the field goal. He missed the 39-yarder.
Yeah, there should be, right?
And that's now a trend. It's not a one-off. Yeah. So that is something that if you really want to look at it and look further into it, yeah, that's something that could surface in the postseason. But I think more often than not, the Eagles just across the board are really – they're built to sustainably maintain that momentum throughout the postseason.
So their matchup is the Packers. There is a lot of fear-mongering about the Packers all of a sudden, right?
Ooh, it's the Packers.
For weeks now, it was the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl, and now as we're getting closer, and now that we know that it's the Packers, I think yesterday changed a little bit. I think people are, now that they know it's the Packers, they're like, all right, they can come in here and get it. But last week, before we knew, there were a lot of people preferring the Commanders, which you can have a preference. And I agree. I preferred the Commanders. But it was like, if they don't face the Commanders, it's the Packers.
Right.
Is it really the Packers?
Yeah, I guess the common sentiment was, that's a tough draw. But when you really look into it, I don't know that they're that formidable of a team where a lot of folks should sound the panic button. And what I mean by that is, They were really inconsistent and choppy team throughout the season.
Oh, yeah.
If you really look at it, they were only 1-5 in their division. Jordan Love was spotty, and he doesn't have a turnover since mid-November, but he also hasn't put up great numbers in the passing game. Josh Jacobs hasn't done a ton. Defensively, I thought they did some good things stopping the run, and they do have some good pieces there, but they also lost Jair Alexander, who's one of the best corners in the NFL, and he would have drawn A.J. Brown in coverage. So that is a matchup that favors the Eagles heavily, and we'll have to see what happens with Jordan Love. Jordan Love hasn't been a world beater this year, like many were expecting, and if he's banged up, that's an opportunity for Jalen Carter and the Eagles pass rush to really wreak havoc.
See, what's funny is you mentioned Jordan Love's numbers haven't been like spectacular. Remember the Eagles fans that were like, oh, we got to see Jalen do it. We got to see Jalen throw for a win, blah, blah. I was totally fine with 190, 210.
That's kind of what Jordan Love was doing.
Be efficient. Jordan Love, everybody's afraid of now. To your point, since November 24th, 163, 2 touchdowns, no picks, but only 163 yards. 274 and 2 touchdowns against a bad Dolphins team. All right, good for him. 206, 1 touchdown. 229, 2 touchdowns. 182, 1 touchdown. 185, 1 touchdown. Just 69 yards yesterday. Of course, he comes out of the game, but those were Jalen Hurts' numbers.
11 interceptions. There's a number for you, even though he has cleaned it up.
No picks since November 17th.
He's prone to it, and they almost took the ball out of his hands from what it looks like.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand why there's so much fear for Jordan Love and the Packers when he is kind of the exact quarterback that they turned Jalen Hurts into after the bye week.
I think people read all the offseason hype. Remember, Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud. And by the way, gentlemen, I thank him for sending it to me here. Hey, CJ sent me something on CJ. They were both top 6 going into the year.
Yes, they were.
And neither one of them played up to even near that potential.
Now, I was wrong about C.J. Stroud, but Jordan Love, I still need to see it. I think I had him just outside the top 10 going into the season, but there were many that were ready to anoint him as one of the faces of the NFL without
Mike Tannenbaum, I still remember on ESPN, said if Patrick Mahomes is off the table, the guy he's starting his team with is Jordan Love. Out of every quarterback in the NFL, the guy he's starting his team off is Jordan Love. Wow.
That sounds incredible to think.
That's why Tannenbaum is doing those shows.
Exactly.
And not running a franchise.
All right, you brought in the Arctic Blitz. Now, I thought he liked it just because of the name.
Now, as we're talking, I keep seeing John take sips out of it. I'm like,
No,
it looks
I'm
like
not-
John.
no, I'm all right.
I'm like, I think John likes it.
No, I mean, the only problem is that I did a lot of Gatorade during chemo.
Yeah.
I haven't really had any since, except maybe once on the golf course. This is growing on me.
I keep seeing you sip it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, I think John likes it. That's good.
I think everybody will understand what I'm saying. It tastes the way it looks.
What?
No,
Don't assume people's minds work like yours.
Yeah.
Because I have no
you know
idea
what I'm
you
saying,
mean.
Connor?
Yeah, it's great for radio.
No,
Yes.
because remember,
Excuse me, we're on YouTube now.
Yes,
All right,
we are.
digital
Remember.
media company.
but I'm shade
Of course
blind.
we are.
I'm shade blind, so I don't know what you're talking about because I look at it like I
sorry.
look at that and I see green.
the show of deficiencies. This guy can't see. This guy can't smell.
It's amazing.
This is why I'm the
No, I
football
can
guy.
see,
I'm a
I just can't see
I'm a
colors the
complete-
way
I'm
you
a
do.
complete package.
It's a light flavor. It doesn't like smack you over the head with it. It's just like, oh, okay.
I said
that's
a little
kinda nice.
flat, but
Yeah.
I like it.
It's not my favorite, but I can see why you like it.
You can
It's a
see
good
why
flavor.
I reach for it as soon as I go into my local Wawa.
You're the only guy.
You should have seen the looks I got today when I was grabbing 5 of them.
It's ridiculous.
Telling
All right,
you.
coming up next, we continue talking birds with our man Andrew the Checo. How about we talk about QB2? Because I know Johnny's all about that. Also, today's headlines with Connor Thomas. Again, new clocks, new segments. Instead of 8:05, now 8:15. We're glad that you're joining us right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Not only can you listen to The Fanatic, but you can also watch on 97.5 The Fanatic's YouTube.
11 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. We have today's headlines with Connor Thomas coming up at 8:15.
Did you tell people to be safe out there today? Because the snow is definitely coming
You're
down.
right. Today is the day to definitely say, hey, be safe driving. In the days of being able to work remotely, a lot of you overuse that luxury. But if you can use that luxury today,
do it.
Today would be the day to do it. We, of course, had the smooth sailing driving in this morning, but now it's coming down pretty good out there. So enjoy yourselves today.
I would say we have a little less than an inch out in Landview, out in West Goshen. So I'm saying, like, I'm looking at the cameras live right now, but it is coming down heavy now.
Yeah, so
we're in the same neck of the woods, John. So we're
you're probably getting it a little worse because you sort of point a little south.
Downingtown?
Yeah, so you're there.
So just be careful on the roads today. Of course, Andrew Zaccheco joining us for the entire hour. Now, real quick, before we get to today's headlines. So Johnny, you've been very adamant about your, I'll say it, dislike of the Eagles' acquisition of Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, like I absolutely would have taken Fields. I wanted Fields. I think Fields would have been a better fit. And they already had gotten themselves. They have another quarterback.
Well, did you learn that yesterday?
Yes.
Getting the chance to watch him play a full game. Of course, we're talking about Tanner McKee.
I heard Connor during the game, and I responded. He goes, "This is great because this is raising the value on a Tanner McKee trade." And I said, "No, on a Kenny Pickett trade."
Yeah, see that's what I think so too. I think they would be more apt to keep a Tanner McKee who's still on a rookie deal,
much cheaper,
still upside,
and has upside. Stronger arm.
And
then move off Kenny Pickett. And look, I think Kenny Pickett can play, but he would be the quintessential bridge quarterback for one of those middling teams.
Yeah, that's why the price went up on Tanner McKee, because he's QB2 now, see?
He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere because they're going to, for the next 2 years, they've got $1 million quarterback.
Yeah, and if somebody offered you a first-round pick, you would give him up in a second.
I don't think they're going to be getting a first.
No, I know. I'm joking, but you're saying he's not going anywhere.
No, they're going to trade.
What I'm saying is if a team offered a first-round pick for Tanner McKee, you're trading him in a heartbeat.
Well, first off, nobody's doing that.
New York Jets, the phone lines are open.
Yeah, exactly.
But Kenny Pickett is going to go for a third-day pick.
So let me ask you this, because there were a lot of people yesterday on social media asking this question, Andrew. And as the football guy that you are, I would like you to explain this to some people. Mm-hmm. People were wondering why they saw certain things with Tanner McKee as the quarterback yesterday they wouldn't see with Jalen Hurts, like certain rollouts and certain play designs.
Jahan Dotson being involved.
So can you talk on that a little bit more?
Well, when you're the backup quarterback, you try to, and you're going against a first-team defense, you try to find different ways to put them in position to be successful. And I heard John talking earlier about Jahan Dotson and why he was so successful. Yeah, exactly, because he was the number one progression, as John was saying. And he could play, but when you're the fourth or fifth option in an offense when they're operating at full capacity, you're not going to see a ton of targets. So I think that they try to do certain things. You saw a lot of motion. That E.J. Jenkins touchdown was due to motion. They try to do different things to make it a little bit easier for him and put him in better position since he was going against a starting defense.
Yeah, and like you said, to make it easier for the third-string quarterback, because there were a lot of people like, oh, how come they don't do this stuff with Jalen Hurts?
It was simplistic.
And that the defense yesterday, the defensive scheme of the Giants. I'm not a film guy like you, but even watching some of their 15-minute games leading up to last week, had a little more time. That scheme on defense didn't look like their normal. They looked like they weren't
showing. They weren't doing anything.
They were ready to go home.
They were ready to go home.
It was absolutely
very vanilla. And I guess, does that mean they thought they could beat Tanner McKee vanilla?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Okay.
I think that they had a lot of confidence in Tanner McKee to the point where they thought that they could beat the Giants,
right.
and they did.
Yeah.
They had a lot of confidence in their backups, and they trusted their developmental program, and they went out there and they did it.
And it was a nice win for the Eagles, a good way to improve to 14-3. All right, it is time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What up, Connor?
New time, same great stories. And we've got a lot of stuff going on around the NFL with the end of the regular season. Not every team's heading to the postseason like the Birds. So that leads to some controversy for teams. And I don't think the Miami Dolphins are feeling very good about where they're at right now. And Tyreek Hill isn't feeling very good about where he's at. Here's what he had to say after the Dolphins had their season ended, we'll say.
I'm finna open that door for myself, dog. As I'm opening the door, like, I'm out, bro. You know, so It was great playing here, but
I mean, you thinking about leaving here?
if it is, hey, yes.
I mean, I think he's tired of playing for that coach.
Yeah.
So do I.
Who, by the way, they put out a statement that he will be back next
Isn't
year.
that nice?
That's a shocker. I thought he would be one of the coaches that gets axed.
Dude, he doesn't do anything special.
I know.
He's just like this hipster quirky
No,
guy.
he's off the McVay tree.
Yeah, and he's
off
done
of the
nothing.
LaFleur tree. He's all part of that abs group where they all just compare their abs with each other.
Smoke and mirrors. He's a smoke and mirrors
He's done
coach.
absolutely nothing. He just
Nothing.
has a bunch of wrinkles in his offense.
And he's weird.
That to
Like,
the
he's
point where
quirky.
his
He's very
quarterback has said he has very little time to process everything that is thrown his way as the quarterback. And I'm not going to give Tua any excuses here. But, I mean, this guy's supposed to be – this is why I hate guys. Sean McVay has now proven me wrong. He won a Super Bowl. When people get anointed –
And he's been to another.
Yes, but when people get anointed so quickly, Mike McDaniel is going to be the next big offensive guru.
He's also a very odd gentleman, and I always wonder about his relatability with players.
That was Gabe Kapler. And I said it about Mike earlier
You know what?
this year.
He is Gabe Kapler.
I literally said
That's
it earlier
a great
this season.
analogy.
Yeah,
Gabe
it's awesome.
Kapler, when like the first year, you're like, all right, he's a little quirky, but I'll rock with this guy. Giants win 100 games. You spend a second year with him, you're like, this guy's weird.
Yeah, and you wonder how coaches like that or managers like that in that case can really relate to a locker room.
That's why Connor works with our show, not one of the others.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
we can relate to Connor. We're weird too.
100%.
What else we got?
So we have, speaking of weird, this was a weird way to celebrate the 5th win of the year for the Carolina Panthers. Jadeveon Clowney had something to say to Falcons fans on his way out of the building after the Panthers took down the Falcons in overtime. Does that message carry the same weight when you're also going to Cabo?
He's
We're
also
going to Cabo.
I think that's the funny part of it, saying I'll see y'all in Cabo. 'Cause he's going too.
The best part, though, even if the Falcons had won that game, they still would have been eliminated because the Bucs won their game. So
Right.
you didn't even technically send them home. It's a weird thing as a Panthers player to have anything to say to any fan base.
Did he play for the Falcons? I feel like Jadeveon
No, but
Clowney
he's-
played for like 14 teams.
Texans,
No, but
Seahawks, Titans, Browns, Ravens, Panthers.
Very much from that part of the country, though. And famous for when he was in college, I think he did 100. He was doing 110 once in like a 55 zone. He's a strange guy.
Yeah.
Would have
Strange
taken him
guy.
this year, though. I'll be honest, as a depth edge guy.
Over
but-
Charles Harris? Chuck Harris?
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
All right, that'll do it for today's headlines. Thank you, Connor. All right, coming up next. So we asked a question earlier today about the preseason concerns. I'll ask Andrew DeCecco that question next. Curious to see what his answer is. And I forgot to put it on the sheet. There was a moment yesterday. You reminded me, Connor, with that Jadeveon Clowney clip of something that Brandon Graham said on NFL Live yesterday. And I'm just curious to get your guys' response on this. John's already shaking his head. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about this. It is Kincade and Salciunas celebrating the 14-3 season for the Philadelphia Eagles, getting you set for Eagles-Packers Sunday at 4:30. We'll break down that matchup more, and you can text in at 610-632-0975. It is Kincade and Salciunas on a Victory Monday, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Back where it all started, I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles are facing the same opponent they had in Week 1 of the regular season as they prepare for the wild card round of the NFC playoffs. Now, the Birds took down the Giants 20-13 yesterday to make their record on the year 14-3, a remarkable regular season. And that means that as the 2 seed, well, they'll be facing the Green Bay Packers, who fell to the Chicago Bears yesterday. Nick Sirianni talked about the matchup with Green Bay.
That's the playoffs. A lot of good teams here, and we'll take one game at a time. I believe it's Green Bay right now, and we'll settle our sights on them. And really good football team, though they're not really worried about anything else other than that.
We also have the date and time for the matchup. It will be Sunday at 4:30 p.m. when the Birds will put their season on the line against Jordan Love and the Packers. The Packers lost Christian Watson in their game yesterday against Chicago. He was carted off with a leg injury. The NFC 1 seed was also decided yesterday. The Vikings fell to the Lions. Detroit's now the 1. Minnesota's the 5. The Flyers lost to the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2 in overtime last night. They'll play Toronto and Philly tomorrow night. The Sixers will play the Phoenix Suns tonight at 7 p.m. back home in South Philly. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. Andrew DeCecco stays with us for the entire 8 o'clock hour. This update's brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. I'm Connor Thomas for 97.5 The Fanatic.
Vacation? Business trip? Don't worry. You can still hear all your favorite Fanatic shows no matter where you go. The 97.5 The Fanatic app. Philly sports in the palm of your hand. Listen to our 24/7 live stream. Get up to the minute Eagles, Sixers, Phillies.
breaking sports news from 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Yes, we have breaking news as this is technically Bloody Monday in the NFL. Obviously, they have been moving on from coaches quicker as the years have gone on in the NFL. A lot of guys don't make it through the entire season. The Jacksonville Jaguars decided they would give Doug Pederson the entire season.
Like Eberflus went and Gerard Mayo went yesterday.
Yes.
After he screwed them on the way out the door.
Hey, good for him. But today, Doug Pederson has been fired by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Owner Shad Khan said, I had the difficult task this morning, I don't think it was that difficult, of informing Doug Pederson of my intention to hire a new head coach to lead the Jacksonville Jaguars. Doug's an accomplished football man who will undoubtedly enjoy another chapter in his impressive NFL career, and I will be rooting for Doug and his wife, Jeannie, when that occasion arrives. And he goes on more and more. But, you know, look, Doug P has a special place in our heart, man, forever. Yes. Winning the Super Bowl here with the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl 52. I don't know if he gets another job as a head coach.
Head coach, I do not believe he will.
And, you know, we were talking about it during the break. Does he want to get an OC job? Does he want to be a quarterback coach, or is he kind of just disappear?
I think he just rides off into the sunset. I do not foresee Doug Pederson taking another job.
I don't know where he would go. Who's clamoring for Doug?
Yeah, I don't think he's getting a head coaching job.
Maybe a consultant?
Maybe.
I said to you, would you bring in Doug as a consultant for the playoff run? And I think you'd be nuts. If he wanted to do it, I don't think he wants to do it.
Right. If he wanted to do it, and like you said, I don't believe that he wants to do. I don't think he's going to be in a rush to do anything. But yeah, I mean, it can't hurt. Get another voice in there. He's like Andrew was saying off air. He has experience working with Jalen.
Yeah. Right. And he almost came back and beat the Eagles this year. And
remember his voice.
Talk about that.
His voice was pivotal in the drafting of Jalen Hurts.
Well, I was immediately anti it, and you say it can't hurt. Like I love the ecosystem of how this coaching staff interacts right now. And I don't want Nick Sirianni to have another voice to worry about. Like, I want them to continue to do things exactly how they've done them.
And that makes sense, Connor, because, I mean, they've been, they only lost because Jalen Hurts got concussed.
Yeah, seriously.
Since the bye week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable when you think about it.
Yeah, Sirianni and his staff, they're pushing all the right buttons right now. I can understand where Connor's coming from. I don't think he would ever do it anyway. I don't think Doug Pederson would ever do it, but you never know.
Here's one thing, too, for Andrew. That we need why we need a long playoff run, so none of this staff gets poached.
That's true.
So some of these guys, now they'll have a chance to interview for jobs and things like that, but you would like to see them not get poached?
Yeah, I would like to see another year of, I don't think Vic Fangio's getting
Vic's not going anywhere.
No, but I do think that Kellen Moore, but also Christian Parker, the defensive backs coach, the Eagles are renting him. He'll eventually be a defensive coordinator next year or the year after.
Yeah, he's
still just 32 years old
right now.
Better not pull any ratty Jonathan Gannon stuff.
Yeah, we don't need that. Definitely don't need that. That's why the Cardinals lost a draft pick, flipped the draft picks with the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, we'll check the text line momentarily at 610-632-0975. But I want to play this for you. We're not going to make too much of it. I just found this fascinating. So we're doing the pregame show yesterday, and I'm searching Twitter to see who's going to be playing for the Eagles in this game yesterday where a bunch of backups were playing. And pops up a clip from NFL Live. And Brandon Graham was a guest co-host on ESPN yesterday. And he was being asked all kinds of questions about the Eagles, but then, of course, other NFL questions. And you know that Brandon Graham will have a future in the media some way, right? Whether it's radio, TV, locally, nationally, BG's going to have a future in the media. Well, yesterday, he was asked about Mike McCarthy because there's still no word on what the Cowboys will be doing with Mike McCarthy. But he was asked what the Cowboys should do. Take a listen.
Dallas, I love it right now. I love the situation they're in because I understand. It's just a fun back and forth. But for me, I know that Eagles fans will agree and keep them so that we can continue to keep beating them.
So I said he's not wrong. However,
so dumb.
I'm surprised he said that.
So am I, and I could tell John wants to say something about it. We got to give him the floor.
I'll let John have the floor.
I would just say is that Brandon Graham needs less open mics near him. And to me, I'm going to say this too, and nobody will say, I don't think anybody's saying it. There was a game yesterday. He's part of the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. There was a game yesterday. I have seen NFL players audition for media jobs. My entire career, I've seen guys on teams that I've covered. I'm floored that he was not with his teammates yesterday. There was a game yesterday.
I didn't even think about that.
There was a
I'll
game
be completely
yesterday.
honest with you, didn't even think about that.
Because the guys when
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Guys when their teams are eliminated, I have seen them over the years. If the Eagles were eliminated, I got no problem with Brandon Graham being on the set of whatever, auditioning for a job, letting him be seen. There was an Eagles game yesterday, and he's supposed to be still. I believe the comments were, I'm still going to be one of the leaders. I'm
You're
still
right.
going to be there.
You're right.
And yesterday would have been a really valuable day for a voice like Brandon Graham to be talking to players that normally don't hit the field.
And support them.
But he was too busy doing what he wanted to do on a day where he should have been with his teammates. Flat out. That's not going to be popular with a lot of the Brandon Graham folks, but I don't give a damn. It's not. He should have been with his teammates yesterday, not auditioning for a post job.
Andrew, how much have you seen him since he's not been playing, interacting with teammates like in the locker room?
A lot.
Talking about, okay, so he's still around.
He's around, but to John's point, that's an opportunity to be that leader, to support your teammates out there, coach them up on the sideline, give them that player perspective. Obviously, I wasn't privy to anything that he said yesterday because we were doing the pregame show,
Right.
and then I went over to the link. But, having heard that now, that's not in good taste, I don't think.
I was surprised he said it.
Like,
you know what I mean?
What are you doing?
You can have every right to feel that way because I agree. I want Mike McCarthy to stay in Dallas. I would love the Dallas Cowboys. So what Brandon Graham said, it's like one of those no lies detected thing. I was just amazed that he said it.
I think it was, hey, say something outrageous. Say something interesting because you want to make an impact.
Yeah, but what does it hurt?
What do you mean, what does it hurt? He shouldn't be. First of all, he shouldn't be there, Connor. He's a part of. No, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear that it was a meaningless game. Players do not usually do this in the NFL.
I understand it's not normal, but personally, I can't ask more of Brandon Graham right now. Like this doesn't bother me remotely.
What are you asking him to do?
Everything. Like if he does that, this doesn't matter to
Connor,
me
he's
remotely.
getting paid by the Philadelphia Eagles to be there.
Okay,
He wasn't
got
getting
you.
paid to be at ESPN yesterday.
He might have been.
No. No, what I'm saying to you is no. He had a job. His job is with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's still getting
I'm sure
paid.
he talked to the organization.
I
And,
understand,
Like
but
this guy has been the consummate teammate outside of one clip we heard earlier this year that he apologized for, and like him saying that Mike McCarthy stinks as a head coach is not news. And it's not like the Cowboys don't try to beat the Eagles and now they will. Like I don't understand any negative repercussions that could possibly come of that.
Wow.
I don't think anything negative happens. I was surprised that it was
It
said.
just is. It's these guys when they get into that chair. And you're seeing it right now with Chase Daniel.
Ugh.
Chase Daniel. Somebody told Chase Daniel, "You're getting an opportunity on one of these shows now. Say something that's going to make you viral. Say something that's going to get you attention. You got to do it."
David Carr last year.
Even if you don't believe it.
Right. When you say something outrageous. And that is what he did yesterday.
No, but he believes it. That's
I
the
understand,
difference.
but
It's
that's-
true.
Yeah, and
and
I
he
do.
believes
And I
it.
agree with them.
But you
I
don't-
agree with them. I was just
Right.
surprised it was said.
Don't say it. And more
That's
importantly, be there. Be there. You're a member of this team. Be there on game day. And I don't want to hear, well, it didn't matter. Because Saquon was there. A.J. Brown was there. Other players there. And they were working with younger players.
It mattered to the players that were playing in that game.
I don't care.
I was surprised that it was said.
You didn't care. But the thing is, though, is where
I didn't think about-
This is why we don't do the show before the show.
I did not
because
think about him like not being there.
he's not there with his team. And he's getting paid.
All right, what
to
do we
be
have on
there.
the text line there, Mr. Thomas?
All right, Kevin in Daytona is a little upset this morning with us. He says, "Can we
He's
stop?"
waking up in Daytona.
I
Why is he
know.
upset?
He says, "Can we stop overlooking the Packers? I don't want no bad luck from the
stop.
football gods.
Bad
you guys
luck.
keep
Get out of here with
bad
the
luck.
bad
Stop
luck.
Can I finish the
Enjoy
text
your
message for all our
Daytona
listeners?
sun. It's snowing up
You
here,
guys
and you're
keep-
telling me about bad luck.
Yeah, give me a break. I'm not trying to hear that.
Sorry, Kevin, we didn't get through your text.
No,
Kevin,
but
no,
because
bad
it's
luck.
not.
Stop
Look,
it.
the Packers are a decent football team. It's not going to be a blowout. The line is only 3.5 for a reason. But come on, don't give me this. Oh, it's going to be bad luck. Blah 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 blah.
He's waking up in down in Daytona. Connor, you'd be in heaven.
Yeah.
By the way, more breaking news.
We got another
Doug
firing?
Pederson is fired, but Joe Shane and Brian Dable remain with the New York Giants. Ah, it's amazing. What a joke of an organization. No comment? Are you guys in favor of this?
This is awesome. Keep all the dumb coaches and
love
GMs.
this.
I love it. Love it.
All right, good. I'm just making sure.
No, I love it. I love it.
I thought you were like saying that they made the right move.
This is what I want. Love it. Love it.
All right, coming up next, we have more Andrew DeCecco. He joins us until 9:07 today. If you have any questions for Andrew,
We're
text
getting like
them
12 extra
at
minutes out of him. I love it.
610-632-0975. We'll also go back to the decision to not play people and what we saw around the NFL. Could Jordan Love be impacted on Sunday? We'll discuss that with Andrew coming your way next. It is Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider update on 97.5 The Fanatic.
1 on Kincade Salciunas on a Victory Monday morning. 14 times I've been able to say that this year. Hopefully I get to say it 4 more times. That'd be nice. 18 times in one season.
Oh, my gosh.
Football Mondays on the Fanatic, presented to you by
happy.
Pierce Phelps, Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning. Visit nopayBryant.com. All right, real quick. We mentioned it going into the break. Around the room, your thoughts on the New York Giants retaining Joe Shane, the general manager, and Brian Dable, their head coach, despite another horrible, wretched season.
So they get
stunned.
They get the opportunity to draft their quarterback of the future, and they're going to do it. And these are the same people who told you that Daniel Jones was the man.
Well, and that's the thing. Brian Dable was very much in favor. They had to give him a contract extension. So if he's this great talent evaluator, he would have realized, like all of us did, that Daniel Jones was nothing. Nothing.
So their fingerprints are going to be all over these new decisions.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, they're going to be in a perpetual state of mediocrity.
This sets them back.
And with the Saquon Barkley situation, the way Joe Shane handled it, the way he came off in those Hard Knocks
smug.
videos, like that alone should be like, yeah, we sucked, and he had a historic season.
That's a fireable offense.
Exactly, that alone.
If I'm the owner, first of all, whoever the assistant GM was that was on the couch that was trying to talk him out of it, that was trying to say to him, are you sure Saquon's not going to find that money out there? Are we sure that we're going to find somebody better than Saquon Barkley? Are we like, and the owner then comes into he's our most popular player and everything. There was such arrogance from Joe Shane.
Definitely.
There was like this smug.
They should have promoted the assistant.
Yeah, the assistant GM tried talking him out of it.
It's unbelievable.
It's unreal.
So they're back. Doug Pederson fired this morning from the Jacksonville
and
Jaguars.
Doug will be just fine down in Florida, enjoying his life, golfing
and ice cream,
and enjoying his life.
Yeah, trust me, he'll be fine.
Yeah,
Man won a Super Bowl. He's totally fine.
Yeah, he's gonna be A-okay. He'll be doing speaking. He'll do speaking engagements.
I'm reading somebody here who's just like, I always hate it when these media members sort of are dancing on the graves of all these fine people that are losing jobs today. Do you realize that most of them were making $3 million?
Yeah.
$2.5 million? These are not the people to cry for. If they burn through the money that they made as coaches,
that's on them.
That's on them.
Yeah.
They should never have to work again. They should never. You get fired from one of these NFL head coaching jobs. Nick Sirianni makes $7 million a year. If you are crying when one of these coaches gets fired or one of these GMs gets fired, you're just not thinking big picture.
Yeah, they're going to be just.
They sign one contract, they should be set for life.
Right. All right. So Andrew, you and I were on the same page. Connor was on our side. John was on the wrong side of history when it came to resting the starters in Week 18. Let's focus on the Packers specifically. We don't know the extent of the injury to Jordan Love. They said they took him out because of precautionary reasons. Christian Watson looks like he's done.
And that did not look good.
No.
And that's their big play guy. That's their one that they're going to try and, when they go up top.
Yeah.
So to not have that really suppresses their offense a lot.
Right. So ultimately, looking back at the decision, does it make you feel even better about the decision, or are you focused strictly on the Eagles when it comes to it?
I mean, I just look at it through the framework of the Philadelphia Eagles, but I have to tell you that when you look across the league, when you see things like that happen, A.J. Brown last year, that kind of puts into perspective Nick Sirianni's thought process in that, I would say. And that now they may not have their quarterback or their big play wide receiver. But on the other side of things, you can also say that could happen. The Packers could have gotten through healthy as well. But I'm always on the side of caution.
Okay, fair enough.
And I think that's a reasoned approach from you, because whoever programmed you probably built that into your program.
Now, when
the microchip.
When
Yes, exactly.
you hear that they say they kept Jordan Love out, I want you to talk football, coach guy here.
Sure.
When they say they took him out for precautionary reasons, do you buy it? Or do you think there might be still something there and they just don't want to put too much information out there like Nick Sirianni and his competitive advantage speech?
Yeah, see, I think it's option B. I think that there was something there. When you lose feeling, they said he lost feeling in his hand.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something more there. They didn't put him out there because I believe he physically couldn't go out there and throw a football.
I'm dealing. I honestly, I'll tell a little bit. I said I deal with this after my chemo. My right foot, around 30% of it has no feeling. It has not come back. Nerve damage, and around 10% on my other foot, but not a big deal.
And you've been a worse radio host because of it.
I think it is. But when I plant, I can tell you, like when I get up from the kneeler at church to plant to go up, I sometimes feel a little unstable. I have to mentally take my time. When you're feeling numb and you're trying to throw a football,
trying to grip it and rip it.
And by the way, it was a wind chill of 20 or 18 yesterday in that game.
Yeah, it's not going to be any warmer next weekend either.
It's going to be it's going to be really cold. It is supposed to be
high of 36 according to the Google machine.
And and so it's going to remember we're playing at sundown.
Right.
Playing at sundown.
Yeah, it's going to be cold. Now, he did throw the ball on the sidelines later on in that game. So there was a camera shot of Jordan Love throwing the football, trying to kind of feel it out. And
he never left. He kept jersey on. He had the
helmet
jacket.
on.
As soon as the game ended, he ran out onto the field. So he could be totally fine. And maybe it was just a precautionary reason. That also tells me that they didn't really care if they were playing the Eagles or the Bucs. That's my guess.
Yeah, I don't think they care either way.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it would have been a detriment. I think the Packers thought that it would have been a detriment to put Jordan Love out there with the hand issue.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think I don't think it was just precautionary. I think he literally couldn't go out there, and they were worried about maybe a strip sack or him being able to, grip the football.
Do you think Washington didn't care about whether they went to Tampa or went to Philly?
Yeah, I don't think they did.
To pull Jaden Daniels at halftime, that was crazy.
I think they just accepted it. Said either way, we're good with it.
Okay, interesting. All right, so coming up next, we will read some text messages for the football guy, Andrew DeCecco. If you have any questions, you can send them in at 610-632-0975. Also, before we let Andrew out of here, congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles for coming in first place. Your reward? A very difficult 2025. It is Kincade Salciunas on a victory Monday morning here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles eyeing up the Packers. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Birds know their first-round postseason opponent. It will be the Green Bay Packers coming to Lincoln Financial Field for the wild card round. This comes after the Eagles won their 14th regular season game yesterday, taking down the Giants 20-13. And the Eagles, as the 2 seed, they get to welcome the lowest seed in the NFC side of the bracket, which happens to be Green Bay after losing to the Chicago Bears yesterday. Nick Sirianni talked about the Packers.
That's the playoffs. A lot of good teams here, and we'll take one game at a time. I believe it's Green Bay right now, and we'll settle our sights on them. And really good football team, though. Not really worried about anything else other than that.
The Packers, they do have some worries, not just facing the Eagles, but Christian Watson was carted off of their game yesterday against the Bears. Jordan Love was taken out of the game with some issue with his throwing arm, so we'll keep you updated on the health of those players. Birds-Packers is Sunday at 4:30 p.m. The NFC 1 seed was also decided yesterday. The Vikings fell to the Lions. Detroit's now the 1. Minnesota's the 5. The Flyers lost to the Maple Leafs 3-2 in overtime last night. They'll play Toronto and Philly tomorrow. The Sixers back home playing the Suns tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. I'm Connor Thomas for The Fanatic, and this update's also brought to you by the Electrical Workers Local 269 and the Electrical Training Alliance. This is Connor Thomas for 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Sixers win.
97.5 The Fanatic.
It is 8:54 on Kincade and Salciunas with our man Andrew DeCecco for a few more minutes, talking about the Philadelphia Eagles' 14-3 season as they get prepared to take on the Green Bay Packers in the first round of the playoffs, the wild card round, 4:30 on Sunday, which we're all in favor of. Obviously, Saturday night on a personal home level would be great.
But they did the Amazon game's the 4:30, right?
Correct.
The Houston game.
Yeah.
And then CBS got the prime time.
Mm-hmm.
So there it is.
But from a work standpoint, man, Sunday,
no.
so that we come in the next day fresh, ready
That's
to go,
great.
talk about the Eagles, Packers. I love that. Connor, what do we have on the text line? Any questions for football guy Andrew DeCecco? You can text in or call in 610-632-0975. And our main topic of the show today, which we'll reset everything in the 9 o'clock hour, are the Eagles now the team to beat in the NFC? You had a chance last night to watch the battle of the 1 seed between the Lions and the Vikings. The Vikings had numerous opportunities in the first half, and they couldn't get into the end zone. Sam Darnold missed open receivers, so it wasn't just the staunch defense of the Lions inside the red zone. Darnold just missed receivers. They had a chance to win that football game, but when you come away with 3 red zone trips and just 6 points, 2 field goals, and then you go into halftime still trailing, that's gonna hurt your chances on the road. Did that make you feel any better about the Eagles' chances being the team to beat in the NFC? What do we have on the text line?
So Uncle Lowell checks in with a question, and he says, Packers were way more scary with Christian Watson and especially Jair Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
How do they plan on covering A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith with a backup out there?
You can't. I mean, Jair Alexander would have struggled with A.J. Brown, to be honest with you. A.J. has the size and the physicality where Jair has the short area quickness and the ball skills and the eye discipline to really make plays on the football. But I don't know. I mean, Eric Stokes, he's a little bit of a longer corner, but they really don't have an answer. Or for Devontae, either. Either player is sort of it's pick your poison.
I mean, just see week 1. A.J. Brown, 5 catches for 119 yards.
He torched them.
That's 24 yards of reception. And Devontae Smith was 7 catches for 84 yards. And Jalen did spread the ball around pretty well that game. Dallas Goedert had 4 catches that day. Saquon had 2. One of those was the touchdown reception. And then Calcaterra and Kenneth Gainwell both had a reception. So Jalen Hurts had a decent day against that Packers defense as well.
They do have Xavier McKinney, though, at safety, and he's come up with a flurry of turnovers this year.
Did he have one in week 1? I know
he did.
Hurts
He did,
picks,
actually.
yeah.
So when Jalen does throw interceptions, they typically come over the middle of the field.
Yep.
So that's something he's going to have to be mindful of when he tries to force the football in the middle. You know, Dallas Goedert will be back in this one. They're probably going to try and get him involved early. So he just has to be mindful of where Xavier McKinney is at all times.
I saw a tweet yesterday. I forget if I favored it or not, but it was the Eagles will be the first team in NFL history to beat a team in 2 continents in 1 season. I don't know if that's 100% accurate.
We're going to go with it.
I don't know if there's been any divisional matchups in out of the United States, and then they won again the next time. But I'll go with it. I like that.
It sounds right.
Yeah, sure. It absolutely sounds right. All right, what else we got?
All right, so we have a check-in from Lou in Langhorne, and he's bringing up the conversation we were having about your preseason concerns. He says, I was dead wrong about Vic Fangio's effect on the defense. After what was said in Miami and based on his previous stats, I expected a minimal improvement that would ramp up over a couple seasons after adding more players, but this turnaround has happened quicker than I could have ever expected.
What does that tell you about the players in Miami?
Soft.
Soft, right, exactly. That's the word.
That's it. I mean, look, the Eagles have a young team. And sometimes that wouldn't ordinarily lend itself to tough coaching because it's different. But Vic Fangio is old school, and all the players in the summer, they all said, we like that.
Those Georgia players.
We want to be coached hard.
Players liked it.
And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you say you like it now, but are you going to like it in October when he's really, the practices are longer and things like that? They've taken to their coaching, and they actually prioritize, they love it. And that's very rare for a team that young to be so invested and immersed in that coaching style.
I don't get somebody who's like anti-hard coaching. Like if you're Jalen Ramsey, you happy with this year? He was the most vocal one.
Well, he's too busy teaching his young toddler child to give people the middle finger.
But nice.
He's teaching that in his inner pictures.
Are you happy with how the season played out? Like your team was a mess all year.
I mean, they
maybe
fell
Mike
apart.
Mike McDaniel, the little hipster boy, needed a veteran presence like Vic Fangio around.
That's a commanding presence. He's very demanding and he's authoritative, but he's going to make you better. And I think it's easy to buy in when you see the results. And the Eagles saw the results almost instantaneously because they put in the work, because they were believing in his ideologies and his philosophy.
When you're willing to be coached, I mean, it's It's you have to in life be willing to be coached.
Yeah, but being coached means different things to different people. And I think Vic Fangio fits really well here, partially because he fits the area really well and the fabric of not just the city, but the organization. Like Miami, in the modern era, is a totally different type of vibe than what you get here in Philadelphia.
And none of those players are from Miami, for the most part.
No, but like you do take on the personality of the city that you live in while you play for the team, at least a little bit.
And some players are just wussies.
Yeah, and some players don't take on the personality of the city.
Some can't take anything, can't take criticism without turtling.
Some, yes, but I wouldn't just say immediately, like, if you don't like the coaching style of Vic Fangio, you're soft. Now, I do think that's an issue with this Miami team, but some guys prefer positive coaching. You got to find the right guy for the guys you bring in. That's more credit to the Eagles for having the right guys in the room.
Connor, you're doing such a great job today.
Yeah.
Really good job,
Great,
Connor.
You're doing great.
We
Thank
think
you.
you're really good.
You're doing
Connor.
great.
You're awesome.
That's our positive coaching.
That feels good for some
You're doing
people.
Well, you got a
amazing.
gold star.
Gold star.
I appreciate that. I'm going to put it on the fridge.
You're listening to 97.5, The Fanatic, WPEN and WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia. Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. All right, so the Eagles obviously come in first place of the NFC East, and we're celebrating that, right? This is amazing. So when I said going into the break, your reward is a tougher 2025, obviously we welcome that tough 2025 because that means they had a great 2024.
I don't welcome this, though.
But no.
I don't welcome it.
If they win a Super Bowl, you're going to welcome it in a heartbeat.
I don't. Well, believe me, I'll dance.
But the Eagles' home and away opponents came out yesterday. Johnny, do you have that in front of you?
Yes.
Can you please go through the home and away?
Okay, the road games, you got the 3 in the division.
Correct.
Where you know that one of them will be extremely difficult, the Washington game. It was this year. You are going to go to Lambeau Field.
Ooh, that's tough.
Love that.
You're going to go to Minnesota, who I expect to have a little regression next year, but I don't know. You're going to go again to Tampa Bay. You're going to go to Kansas City.
Arrowhead. I don't hear you now, Chiefs fans.
You're going to go play the Chargers in LA, where we're going to bring 40,000 Eagles fans.
Yes.
But the Chargers are a good team now.
Yes, they are.
And then you're going to go to Buffalo, which, by the way, if there was a road game I wanted to go to, that's it.
I'm looking forward to going to Lambeau. I always want to cover a game from Lambeau Field.
Now
I've
I
done
have to
that
ask
once.
you, how much of a football guy are you? I have said on these airwaves, back when I was working with Ant, bucket list for me is to go to Lambeau, but in December.
I'm ready. You sign me up. This December, January?
Because that's more. That's more Lambeau. Like Lambeau in September, that's nice.
Well,
and
yeah,
all.
you don't get the same feel.
I need did you see yesterday?
I want it to snow.
Did you see the
while
guy
I'm covering
open the
game.
water bottle and it froze right away? Like, that's the Lambeau that I want to experience.
I want it to snow while I'm there.
2002, I got to do live broadcasts Friday from Lambeau parking lot, Saturday, and then Saturday night, Falcons versus the Green Bay Packers, and it snowed during the playoff game with
Damn
Michael
right,
Vick.
man.
Wow, that's the full Lambeau
That's
experience.
the Michael Vick snow playoff game when he went up there and beat the Packers in Lambeau, which nobody had done.
Right.
That was the first one to go in there and win.
That was 02, right?
It was 0-2. And Michael played his backside off that night.
Connor's shaking his head in there. He'd rather do the Tampa trip or the LA trip.
Yes.
He's not
Yeah,
meant
you
for
like that Miami coaching.
Yeah,
Connor says he
you
can't-
like Mike McDaniel.
He says he can't take his shirt off.
I like warm
and-
weather. Cold weather sucks.
Nah,
Keep me
man,
away from
I want
Lambeau.
the full Lambeau experience.
Cold weather makes me
man.
tougher. It's a mentality.
All right, and who are the home opponents?
Oh, the home opponents. This is the home opponent schedule I'm fine with. The 3 divisional opponents I'm fine with. You get the Bears at home. You get the Raiders at home. You get the Rams at home. So you haven't seen the Rams here in a long time.
Not a long time.
Now, the tougher games, you get the Broncos at home. You get the Lions at home. That's the big one. That Lions game, pencil that in for a Sunday night or a Monday night.
NFC Championship game rematch.
Well, could be. And if that happens, when the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Correct.
When the Eagles win the Super Bowl, I would imagine that they might think about that being the home game that kicks off the season.
Well, if the NFC wins the Super Bowl, that will be the Thursday night game to start. Because if the Eagles don't win it, the Lions win it, right? If an NFC team wins, and then they're going to have them play the Eagles.
Right. That's what I would believe is going to happen.
But it's going to be the Eagles.
But the home schedule to me is not a problem. That is the hardest road schedule I believe any team will face in the NFL. And I think it's the hardest road schedule I've ever seen the Eagles play.
That's Murderer's Row.
I could also say this to your point, Connor. If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, there's a chance that they beat the Kansas City Chiefs in it. So not a lock that it would be Eagles
the game
Lions.
has to be here.
Yeah, the Chiefs would be on the
game
road.
would have
They're
to
a
be
road
here.
opponent.
The Chiefs are on the road.
Got it. Okay.
Eagles win, they get a home game.
Correct.
So if let's talk this into existence. When the Eagles win the Super Bowl,
That's happening.
it's not. I don't think they're going to pick one of the divisional games. They'd maybe take Commanders.
Maybe.
Nah.
You got Bears. It's not going to be the Bears.
Definitely not the Bears.
It's not going to be the Rams. It's not going to be the Raiders. So maybe Broncos, maybe Lions, maybe Commanders. Broncos, Lions, Commanders. So that'll be the game after the Super Bowl when they hang the next banner.
Yeah, love that.
And hopefully we won't have a lightning delay like we did the last time.
And if they do go to the Super Bowl, how much fun are we going to have doing all this out there?
Dude,
Radio
my
Row.
gosh, you kidding me?
It's going to be a lot of fun.
I felt so terrible for them because I was obviously off the air with the terrorist attack. I've spent so much time on that block and so much time down there. It breaks my heart for that community.
Yeah, it's horrible.
But they bounce back. They bounce back strong.
By the way, the Eagles line is now 5.5. So there are a lot of people.
Do you think stuff's leaking out about Jordan Love?
I do. I do. That's very telling.
Because that's a huge to go 2.5 points since it opened.
Yeah.
That's very telling.
And there's a lot of people online that were like, "Oh, this line's telling me something." This line wasn't telling me squat.
Now you know what's funny is though
Go Birds.
Mike Missanelli loves to read lines, so be sure to be listening at like 10.
Well, now it's at 5.5, so
Because
I
I
imagine
might be-
he feels better about the Eagles.
I don't know though. Sometimes Mike has some interesting insights on lines and what he thinks they mean.
All right, Andrew, great job as always, man. New
Appreciate you
expanded
guys.
role. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Thanks for the refreshing
Arctic Blitz.
Arctic Blitz. I've only had
man.
to pee twice.
We will talk to you Wednesday, and then we'll have you in for the entire 8 o'clock hour on Friday. We look forward to it,
Likewise.
as always. All right, coming up next, we still have not talked much about yesterday's game. Totally get it. I hope you guys get it as well. But what I do want to do is celebrate Vic Fangio, because it doesn't matter who's on the field. That guy can coach. It is Kincade and Salciunas on a football victory Monday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Not only can you listen to The Fanatic, but you can also watch on
9:11 here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming your way at 10 o'clock, it's the Mike Missanelli Show with Bill Colarulo and Ray Dunn. Bill and Ray have made it in safely. I have to bring this up, John. Now,
Okay,
I know
what do you
you're
bring it
not
up?
necessarily somebody that believes in superstitions, but
I do not.
I know that sometimes you still have that in the back of your mind. I think you do.
Really? Me?
No, I think so.
I'm too logical to believe in bullcrap like that.
All right. Well, I got to ask you this.
What is it?
Bill Colarulo
Uh-huh.
shaved the beard.
That's fine.
Saying.
Bill Colarulo's a handsome man. He's trying to please that beautiful wife.
I just know when Nick Sirianni he was stood in solidarity with Nick Sirianni. When Nick shaved the head, Bill started growing out the beard.
I don't believe in jinxes. I don't believe in stuff like that. So I got no problem.
Well, there are a lot of people that do. So there might be a lot of people
There are a lot
upset
of
with Bill.
You realize weak-minded individuals. There's a lot of them out there, but we learn to deal with them.
You see what I'm wearing today?
I love that.
Yeah, this is the sweatshirt that Christie washed, and then Carson Wentz tore his ACL.
But they won a Super Bowl.
Well, because I got it dirtied again.
They won a Super Bowl.
I wore it to the gym every day.
How about if the washing of it meant that they finally got the stank of years of Salciunas out of it, and then they went and got they won a Super Bowl?
Nah, it was me taking it back to the gym. Was what?
Yeah, you got to grow the beard back.
Yeah, you got to grow the beard back.
I got to keep this mustache. I don't want it anymore. But
Yeah, it looks
I got
horrible.
to. You look horrible.
I can say it as a
The
brother.
Miles
It looks
Teller
horrible.
thing has passed.
Yeah,
I've
the
gotten
must-
good
It has passed.
It's not his
I've gotten good
mustache.
reviews.
It
He's
has
the only
passed.
guy with a mustache ever.
Yeah,
But it has
the
passed.
mustache. It's-
The mustache crap all started with that Top Gun
Yeah.
2, which was awesome, by the way.
You're starting to freak me out a little bit.
I'm gonna mustache even harder now.
Yeah, I hope you don't. I would like.
I don't know that you
did
can
it.
get much harder than that.
Yeah,
but
no more mustache, please. All right, before we get back to our text line, of course, our main topic today for you to answer at 610-632-0975 is whether or not the Eagles are the team to beat in the NFC, despite them being the 2 seed and
Sure.
2 teams that fought their way for the 1 seed yesterday. Johnny, you were there yesterday,
Yes.
and you got to see a lot of players make an impact
Sure.
in person that make an impact more so on special teams or maybe just the scout team during the week, not even on game days. Vic Fangio, this should not be ignored. Once again, coached his rear end off, and he did it yesterday with a couple of starters on the field, but mainly second, third, and practice squad guys.
Yes.
Second string, third string, and practice
Now-
squad guys. He's great.
The Giants played many more starters, but they played them mostly on defense.
Yeah.
There were a lot of backups. Half of their offensive line was backups and everything, and they were taking out neighbors at weird times during the game, which was strange.
Yeah, but you didn't see like the Eagles players out of position.
No.
or-
They
or
fundamentally
unprepared.
The thing is, though, as I said it, and I had to have Andrew check it because really, honestly, I trust him that much. It looked so vanilla, both teams.
Yeah.
They looked really vanilla. And I'm sure because of Vic Fangio, he had to teach them, he had to come with a vanilla scheme.
Right.
He wasn't going to be able to get too complex and too crazy. He wanted these guys to be in a position to succeed. He helped.
Yeah, he did
He
great
helped a lot.
yesterday.
Again, he helped a lot.
And I know that's very deep in the weeds of football when we're talking about how well the third and fourth stringers looked yesterday, and,
Sure.
and a lot of credit goes to Vic Fangio. But seriously, this goes back to the next man up thing that we've been talking about a lot today. Every time somebody has gone down, the next guy has really stepped up. Remember, the one game where we were like, this could be a problem, was when Isaiah Rodgers had to come in for Darius Slay against Nakua, and he got burnt by Nakua. But we also recognize coming in the middle of a game like that's got to be tough. What did Isaiah Rodgers do the very next week when he had to start in place of Darius Slay?
He stepped up.
He was spectacular.
By the way, did you see him yesterday returning kicks?
Yeah, dude.
So,
By the way, if you can return kicks, and I've been told this by NFL players before when I've asked it, if you can return kicks, you can return punts. You can. Some guys are not as comfortable returning a punt as they are returning a kick. But I do not want to see Cooper DeJean.
So I asked Andrew DeCecco that yesterday during the pregame show.
Okay, smart man.
And because he said he expected to see a bunch of guys get opportunities. And we saw Dotson returning kicks yesterday as well, and punts.
Fine with that.
And if I'm Vic Fangio, and he's been pretty honest about his dislike of Cooper DeJean returning punts.
He's flat out said it.
Maybe he says something to Howie or Nick and says, listen, you guys have heard my wishes. You have this third-string wide receiver in Jahan Dotson. or you can use Isaiah Rodgers. Now, look, it's the playoffs. Are you going to make a change now for the playoffs?
No.
That's the thing.
Look, I'm going to say this. Vic, I would suggest to you, go tell Lane Johnson that's what you want, and then Lane Johnson will go to Howie, and he'll tell Howie what we're doing, and then they'll do it. So I think Vic just goes and sees Lane Johnson. They talk about it, and then Lane goes to Howie and says, I don't want to play this week, and so I'm demanding we're not playing.
I just find it
would work.
So I'll just ask it. Who's returning punts on Sunday?
DeJean, easily.
That's what I said.
God, I hope not. I
who do
hate
you
it.
think? I'm asking not what you want.
I think you two are correct.
Well, hang on now. You're Mr. They should have played in Week 18.
No,
so
I do
now
not want
we're worried about injuries for a player?
No, because there's other players who can do the same job. I've said it since the beginning because I am in lockstep with my man. I am a Fangio. So I am like a fanboy Fangio. I am lockstep with Vic. I do not want to see. There are so many ways you can get hurt. And by the way, again, for an NFL season, one of the top injury positions is punt returner. I do not want to see Cooper DeJean with a shoulder injury, with a collarbone broken, anything like that, where he is not able to be on the field. I think it's reckless, and I think they have been rolling the dice.
Well, yeah, but I'd rather risk injury. I'd roll the dice on injury way before I'd roll the dice on in a playoff game, muffing a punt, costing yourself a game.
Wait a minute, I think he's had 3 fumbles. So it's not like he's been.
Just one,
he fumbled the very first. He fumbled the very first ball kicked to him punted to him this year.
Okay.
He fumbled again in the Steeler game. And I think he had one other. But he fumbled in the Steeler game. He fumbled the very first punt that was punted to him this year as a punt return.
But not lost, right? He just
No, but still, he's fumbling the ball. I think he did lose that one in the Green Bay game.
I'll try to.
I think he did in the Green Bay game. I think he fumbled. It was one of the turnovers.
Well, no,
wasn't
Covey returning still at that point?
Yeah, DeJean didn't even play in week 1.
DeJean fumbled though twice, and it might have been a third this year as a fumbling opponent.
Let's see here. Punt
might have been recovered.
Of course, they don't have fumbles on here. Why would they? All right, I'll try to find that for you coming up. Speaking of coming up, we'll check the text line next. And also, we touched on it earlier. A decision was made in the Commanders game yesterday.
He did it. It was the Buccaneers game. I was wrong.
Okay.
It was the Buccaneers game where he fumbled.
And that's where everything was going.
And Tampa got the ball. Yeah.
How would we have reacted if the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles was benched in the final week of the regular season before the playoffs? We'll discuss Jaden Daniels next. It is Kincade Salciunas on a Football Monday, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles finished with 14 wins. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. The Eagles took down the Giants 20-13 yesterday for their 14th victory of the regular season. They were already locked into the 2 seed, but now the 14-win Eagles know who they'll be taking on. It will be the Green Bay Packers. Nick Sirianni gave his initial thoughts on that yesterday.
That's the playoffs. A lot of good teams here, and we'll take one game at a time. I believe it's Green Bay right now, and we'll settle our sights on them, and really good football team, so I'm not really worried about anything else other than them.
It'll be Sunday at 4:30 when the Birds take on the team that they started their regular season with. The 1 seed was also decided in the NFC yesterday, with the Vikings falling to the Lions. Detroit's now the 1, Minnesota's the 5, and Green Bay had some injuries that are of note. Christian Watson was carted off their game against Chicago yesterday. Jordan Love was taken out precautionarily with an issue with his throwing arm. So things to watch. The Flyers fell to the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2 in overtime last night. Sixers play the Suns tonight at 7 p.m. in South Philly. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. This update's also brought to you by Ace Hardware Home Services. Got a leaky pipe, having issues with your heat? Ace Hardware Home Services. They're around the block with everything you need to fix it. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Vacation? Business trip? Don't worry. You can still...
97.5 The Fanatic. Check our text line momentarily. The question today, are the Eagles the team to beat in the NFC? You watched the Eagles rest their starters yesterday, go into the playoffs a little bit more healthier as the 2 seed. They're going to take on the Packers in round 1. But you also got a chance last night to see the Lions beat the Vikings to earn the 1 seed, which they did. They earned that 1 seed. But I will tell you, that first half, the Vikings had numerous opportunities to try to take a lead, and they just couldn't do it. And it was their own issues. Sam Darnold was missing open wide receivers in the end zone yesterday. It wasn't really anything that the Lions were doing. And they go into halftime down 10-6, and they had every opportunity to go into halftime with the lead. They didn't. The Lions were able to get a last-second field goal to end the first half to make it 10-6. All momentum goes their way. And then they outscore them 21-3 in the second half.
You think the stage was too big? For Sam Darnold at that time?
Do you remember what I said? I don't know if I said it Friday, but Connor, what did I say yesterday? That was my one concern with my hope that the Vikings would win.
I don't recall.
Wow,
Please
thanks a
remind
lot.
me.
He was listening to a different show.
We said a lot yesterday.
That the Vikings celebrated in that locker room after beating the Packers as if they won the Super Bowl. And that happens. We've seen it in sports. It's not all the time. It's very sports talk radio-y. But we've seen it. A team wins a game. They act as if that's their Super Bowl. And then the next week, it's either a come down or a loss. And they lost yesterday.
I'm going to tell you that it happened when Minnesota beat New Orleans.
The Miracle.
And the Minneapolis Miracle. They had nothing left in the tank emotionally when they came to Philly.
Yeah.
They had a chance to take care of that game early.
They did.
They didn't.
So I do believe that could be a bit of a factor, that they played that game last week as if it was their Super Bowl. They won it, and then look at how they looked yesterday. And they had every opportunity. Jared Goff was bad early in that game yesterday. If it wasn't for Jahmyr Gibbs, it's a different ball game. And so all of a sudden, the Vikings then POA opportunities, and the Lions win that one. So what do we have on the text line, Connor, at 610-632-0975?
All right, so we have a check-in here from Kevin in St. Louis, and he sends along a little picture of him and his son. They got the Eagles championship belt thing on. He says, Philadelphia Eagles are definitely the team to beat, and I'm definitely not worried about the Packers. I believe the Eagles defense could make Jordan Love nervous in the pocket. Eagles win this game.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I have little. This is my regard for a football game. When I've had that nervousness, I am completely confident and comfortable with this matchup.
Yeah, it's more difficult than the Commanders game, in my opinion, but I'm not worried.
Somebody's going to have to prove to me, again, and my piece is up at 975thefanatic.com, and you can read it, and you can just say is that if anyone's giving you the boogeyman routine on the Packers this week, they're not giving it to you based in fact. They're giving to you based in feelings. I don't like being based in feelings. Based in fact, the Eagles should handle their business on Saturday, and on Sunday, and I think sort of comfortably, because they are the better team in almost every asset of the game. I think in every asset of the game.
Line is now up to 5.5 on some books. What opened at 3 with some is now up to 5.5 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles were potentially playing the Commanders in the first round of the playoffs. That did not happen with how things unfolded yesterday. The Commanders were able to win yesterday against the Cowboys late. But during the game, they benched Jaden Daniels. Now, you know Dan Quinn more than any of us here in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Was this
Coach Bro, as we called him?
So they said on the broadcast, apparently I saw some people tweeting it out, that it was a coach's decision due to play. So was that really was this a, let me teach him, learning experience? Like, what do you think went into Dan Quinn's decision, his thought process, to bench Jaden Daniels during the game yesterday, that if the Packers won and they lost, they would have dropped to the 7th seed?
I can tell you that Dan Quinn would fall closer to, he is a player's coach, but he is not warm and fuzzy all the time. And with his young quarterback playing garbage football yesterday, he was bad. He was playing bad ball. I think that Dan Quinn gets to send a little message, and then also Dan Quinn gets to go, he's fine. He'll be ready for the playoffs, and he'll respond well to some hard coaching. I think it was more about getting him out of the line of fire. But his first half was horrendous.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was one of his worst halves of the entire season.
6 of 12 for 38 yards, scampered a little bit.
But he was not looking good.
Now, there's a report from the Washington Post that he
Okay.
was feeling soreness in his leg before leaving the game.
Well, he got hit. There was one sack. He got sacked 2 consecutive plays, or it was 2 plays in the same drive. And
he got sacked 4 times.
And
yesterday.
he was getting blamed for taking too much time.
Okay.
And when he got up from the one, they said he was a little ginger. Like it was a little gingerly when he was getting up.
So maybe the decision was we
Let's
don't
not
care
push
who
this.
we don't care who we play. We just need
Correct.
our quarterback healthy, which could be what the Packers did too. Like, hey, we could win and find our way up in the 6th seed, or we could lose and stay in the 7th seed. But regardless, if Jordan Love isn't playing, we're losing. So let's take him out.
This is an easier prep week for Washington if they're playing the Eagles.
Because they played them twice.
Might not be an easier matchup, but preparation-wise, it is a much more comfortable week for a coaching staff to know that they're going, oh, I've seen this and I've seen it recently. Whether it's a better matchup or not is a whole nother.
Well, one of the reasons why I also wanted them was to shut up the people that thought the Commanders won that game.
I don't think they're winning in Tampa. I don't. I do not believe that they will be moving forward, but I believe that they're going to look at this season as a great.
Yeah, if
Great
you're a
step
Commanders
forward.
fan, you should be thrilled right now.
Thrilled,
Like,
absolutely thrilled.
good for you. I think the Commanders fans that thought they actually beat the Eagles a few weeks ago are ridiculous.
It will be regression to the mean next year, though, in my opinion, because the Commanders will be playing, and Connor was bringing it up earlier, the amount of times that they got that easy schedule this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different
They haven't
animal
really
next
beaten
year.
anybody of note this
It's
year.
going to be a different animal. And again, all offseason, you're going to hear that Jaden Daniels is exactly what you heard C.J. Stroud was this year. And I'm not saying he's going to have that kind of a disappointing season, but they will overhype Jaden Daniels' progression.
Dude, there are only 3 teams in the NFC that have beaten someone of note this year. Like, actually had one of those wins. It's the Eagles, it's the Lions, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, that's it. I mean, I guess you could give the Rams the one-off against the Bills where they both put up like 800 points. But even that, your defense gives up almost 50. Like, it's just they're clearly, and the Buccaneers have had too many issues with injuries and put themselves behind the 8 ball. Like, this is why the Eagles and Lions are the clear top 2 teams.
Here are your Commanders' opponents next year. Their home games: Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, Bears, Lions, Seahawks, Broncos, Raiders. The road games: Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, Packers, Vikings, Falcons, Chiefs, Chargers, Dolphins.
They are regressing to the mean next year, even though I'll tell you right now, and we'll get into it during the offseason, you're not finding 14 wins on the Birds schedule either.
No, it's going to be
It'll
tough.
be a much tougher drive next year to compete for like a number 1 seed.
But they'll win back-to-back division titles, which is
Could
something we haven't
be.
seen in a long
That'd
time.
be nice.
All right, give us something else on the text line there, Connor.
All right, we got to check in here. No name on this one, but they say what separates the Eagles from the rest of the top echelon NFC teams is their defense. Their defense is where they're head and shoulders above the rest of the playoff teams.
And they are. I mean, right now, the NFC playoff field, I'm going to write something for this website about it, but like right now, you're the second in points allowed. Now, the Lions are 7th. The Vikings are 5th. But then when you get past everybody else, Bucks are 16th. Rams are 17th. Commanders are 18th. Now, the Packers are 6th. So it's something to watch for. Packers are 8th and 6th. Eagles are 7th and 2nd in points allowed. Just something to look for. Packers have played a lot of tight games, but one thing that they've shown is that they don't have the ability to win. They don't win many of the tight
and you've
games. mentioned
it a couple of times. A lot of those are also garbage time points that
That's what they do.
from behind.
That's what they do, and that's there's a number as I put up is that around 2/3 of his passing yardage when Jordan Love plays one of the 5 games he played against the best teams in the NFC, the Lions, the Vikings thing, where he went 0-5. Around 67% of his passing yardage came when his team was down by multiple scores.
Yeah.
When they play soft, when they play loose, that's when he did well. When it's tight, he has not done well. In fact, he needs Depends undergarments. Maybe an endorsement for young Jordan.
Maybe. Just like how Saquon Barkley had a new endorsement.
I love that.
That was an amazing endorsement.
But did you see the one that was after the game?
Yes, I did see it.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Amazing, man.
What
Amazing.
placement?
All right, coming up next, we'll have the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. But before that, we got to go through some of the heroes from yesterday's game for the Philadelphia Eagles. And also a great tweet that I just read about somebody who may have played their last game of their NFL career yesterday. I'll read that tweet for you next because it's so spot on. It is Kincade and Salciunas on a Victory Monday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia Eagles are in the NFL playoffs. The expectations are high.
on a Victory Monday morning. Fanatic Mondays presented to you by Football Monday, on the Fanatic presented to you by Pierce Phelps, Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopayBryant.com. And oh, by the way, check out the Fanatic Deal of the Week. Get one open to close lift ticket to Camelback Mountain for just $40. That's 12 hours to enjoy 39 trails, awesome. Fully lit night skiing, which is really cool, and high-speed lifts at the largest ski resort in the Poconos. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 97.5thefanatic.com/deals.
Most skiing I've ever done in Pennsylvania at Camelback.
Oh, really?
That is a great track.
Oh, then you can speak from experience. And it's
I have
open
not done it lately.
Close.
Oh, it is. That's
that's
not me, though.
There's some people that would do that.
I can do around 6-7 hours. That's
See, all right. I'm somebody that if there's a deal,
you want to take advantage of it.
So, New Year's Eve a couple of years ago, or more than a couple of years ago at this point, but it was just Christy and I. We were waiting for plans, and the plans never happened. Right?
Okay.
It was in that weird moment where we were living together. There were still a lot of people living at home. Like, we were in our early 20s. So there was a bar right near us, and it was $30 was the all-you-can-eat and drink ticket, right?
Were you there when they opened the doors?
8 o'clock, baby. I think I drank and ate the $30 worth by 9. And we were there till close, which was like 2 in the morning.
That's awesome, though.
I got to make the most of this deal, man. It's like the all-inclusive.
Now,
Damn right I'm going to be drinking booze at 7 in the morning. I got to make the most of this.
I know this much. I will plan on it myself. Do you, though, you'd be there to ski? You're not a skier.
No, I've never tried it in my life.
You're not a skier.
No.
I'm a skier. I enjoy skiing. I can tell you that's a lot.
That's a lot of skiing.
That's a long day. You know what, though? Some people can do it.
Meet me in the lounge.
Yes, exactly.
You'll find me there. All right, real quick before we get to our key three, got a couple of stuff to unpack here. So first of all, I need to read a tweet to you from Icy Vert.
I like Icy Vert.
Icy Vert does a great job.
Funny stuff.
He puts out a tweet yesterday, or early this morning, 1 a.m., that was so spot on. He says Aaron Rodgers just played his last game today, and everyone just kind of didn't care.
Yes, because of
him. No, because of him.
Because of him.
I'm not saying that
it's because of
we
him.
should have cared.
No, it's because of him. He's done it to himself. He's become a cartoon character.
But it's amazing. This guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He is.
Like the last day that the last game that Peyton Manning played, the last game that Tom Brady played. You're sitting on the couch to watch it.
I will tell you.
I didn't even think twice about it yesterday.
I will tell you he is a great stats compiler, but he has more underachieved than he has overachieved in his career. He's more of an underachiever for his seasons than he is an overachiever. He is a great stats compiler. He's not like he had two number one seeds where he lost at home.
Yeah, he also had a horrible head coach in Mike McCarthy. We're celebrating the fact that he might stay in Dallas. So
I would say look at his performances in some of those big games and then tell me, is that McCarthy or is that Rodgers? Because if McCarthy's a good enough coach to get him a number one seed or get him a high seed,
well, the quarterback,
and then the quarterback doesn't come around in the playoffs. Okay, well, you can't do that.
It could be both.
You can't say McCarthy's to blame for him losing a big game, but McCarthy's not getting credit for them winning all the games that gets them the high seed.
All right,
you got to do one or the other.
I'm just saying.
I can't believe you. He's a kook, dude.
He is a kook. I'm not disagreeing.
And you know what he's not? Did you again? I said it the day that Hassan Reddick left the Eagles. I said it on the air the very next day, and then I've reiterated it a million times. How many Eagles players or Eagles members of the Eagles organization did you see go get the bag, man? Go do your thing. Go. It was crickets.
Yeah, you didn't see much of that.
There's a reason. Aaron Rodgers. Did you see anybody in Green Bay losing their minds over it?
Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb.
I mean, seriously.
Oh, man. Those are his go-to guys.
He's not a popular guy. He's not the kind of, I don't know. He's a hell of a stats compiler. He's got all the stats in the world.
All right. Do you have my music ready for me? No? Go on YouTube, damn it.
Go on YouTube. Oh, hang on.
You have a computer right next to you. All right, we don't have to do it. It's too late now. I wanted him to play, There Goes My Hero. That's okay. There are heroes to celebrate, yes.
There are.
Darian Kennard, Fred Johnson, Jack Driscoll, Nick Gates, Tanner McKee, Trisha McCollum, Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Wait a minute.
Keely Ringo, Oren Burks.
You missed the number one.
Who's the number one?
Jordan Davis.
Well, I'm not done yet.
No, but he should have been number one.
Well, no, I'm going with the guys who played 100% of the snaps yesterday in a meaningless game because you needed to give other guys rest. Those were the guys that played 100% of the snaps yesterday. Avonte Maddox, 98.
And he didn't look horrendous.
No, he didn't. Johnny Wilson, 96. Jahan Dotson, 94. So that's your 90 or more % club of snaps yesterday.
Amazing day.
Bryce Huff, hey, way to, put pride aside. 87% of the snaps yesterday.
He he's stolen money most of this year.
I understand.
So, I mean, he's got to suck it up.
But he could be I'm the marquee free agent. I don't need to play in this game. He played 87% of the snaps yesterday. Moro Ajomo played 83% of the snaps. And then you had a lot of guys in the 70s. And as you mentioned, Jordan Davis played 40% of the snaps yesterday.
And out there playing when he obviously didn't need to.
No, 100% didn't need to.
They needed him to.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's no ego with Jordan Davis.
No. And
he
so,
should. And by the way, he's had one where he was able to perform for the whole year this year. He took it to the next level, thankfully.
By the way, over the course of the season, Jordan Davis has played 37% of the snaps. So that means he played more yesterday than what his average has been all season long.
Correct.
So that is another guy that deserves some recognition. A lot of guys deserve that recognition because, as you know, the game still's played. Like, you can't just forfeit. So there are guys. And look, if you're Oren Burks, you're going to say, damn right I want to play.
Yes,
I want to try to make a name for myself.
And a little tape.
Yeah, absolutely.
It might mean another payday next year.
Right. But yeah, so a lot of guys deserve that recognition. Still surprised Kenny Gainwell played as much as he did.
I didn't like it. I don't get that. I was so nervous. When they put him out there in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Dude,
oh my God,
Andrew Catalan was the play-by-play guy, right?
Okay.
I'm sitting there. At this point, I'm doing show prep for today. I'm not even watching the game. And I hear, and Kenneth Gainwell, like, he was surprised by it.
How bad was the broadcast? Because I've not watched the broadcast yet. Obviously being there, I heard that it was terrible.
Yeah, there's a reason why they're like the third, fourth, fifth team.
I mean, they have Kathy Bates, who's doing a great job on Matlock. I would rather see Kathy Bates do a game.
Well, they have
some of these teams.
There's just too many voices. The three-man booth.
When it's not A-list guys.
Well, that's the thing. Like, back in the day when it used to be Buck, Aikman, and wasn't Collinsworth? That was the three-man booth. The 4th and 26 game. While. They had a three-man booth, but it was the A-list guys. When you have McCourty, who's good,
he's okay,
but also Tiki, and they yucked it up the whole time.
Oh yes,
it was a yuck fest the entire.
And was Tiki
game.
making it that him and Saquon are cool?
He did say that.
I didn't really catch much of that.
He said he talked to him and everything's good.
Yeah. I'm glad that you're dead to us.
Saquon's probably not thought of him.
I don't think he thinks of him one second.
Ever since those comments.
I think he just says we're cool, buddy.
All right, cool. It is time now for the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show, brought to us by Von C. Brewing.
Now, the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3, today's best.
Before we start diving into Eagles-Packers, dude, 14-3. We just watched a spectacular season. Starting in September, leading us to January 5th, 14 wins when they were 2-2 at the bye, John.
Well, you said starting in September. Yeah, it started in September, but it didn't start spectacular.
No.
And if you think about it, and where we were sitting at 2-2, and where this team ends at 14-3, it's absolutely crazy that the job that they did, the job that Howie Roseman did assembling the talent, the job Nick Sirianni did coaching, and more importantly, the job that these players did, I got to tell you, I feel more confident about this team than I did the 22 team. And they were the 1 seed.
Yeah, that's saying something.
To the Eagles, this is to me arguably the most impressive season I've ever watched this team.
I mean, it's been unbelievable with everything that has gone down. And now we get to turn our attention to the playoffs. Are the Eagles now the team to beat in the NFC? And I ask that question because we had a chance to watch both the Minnesota Vikings and Detroit Lions play last night. And the Lions were the winners in that contest, and the Lions will have home field advantage, and they are the 1 seed.
Yes.
And look, they've been dominant all season long despite all their injuries, and man, they're probably very thankful to have the bye week in round 1. But I will tell you, man, they were begging for the Vikings to win that football game. Early on, the Vikings had 3 red zone chances in the first half, and they finished with 6 points. That's bad.
There's a good chance we get a rematch in 2 weeks.
There is a very good chance.
If Minnesota can go and beat the Rams,
which is possible,
they would most likely end up going to Detroit. I just don't know if I can talk myself into Detroit being beaten at home.
Yeah, it's tough place. Tough place.
Minnesota.
You saw that atmosphere yesterday.
But the Eagles do, to me, and if you're going by my personal eye test, they look better than both the teams we saw
They
last night.
absolutely do. I mean, that's my takeaway this morning, is I wake up this morning feeling very confident in saying the Eagles are the team to beat. Like, I feel like I'm Jimmy Rollins saying that the Phillies were the team to beat back in 2007. But seriously, I mean, I just watched this Eagles team, be dominant on defense with their third and fourth string guys yesterday. I watched this defense be dominant 2 games ago against a Cowboys team. I know they were dead in the water, but still, you go out in that game without Jalen Hurts. Maybe there's a mentality with the team that they could just try to squeak by and just beat the Cowboys, just get the job done. No, they dismantled them a few weeks ago. Like, this team, no matter what has been thrown their way, either the injury to the quarterback or the injury to a kick returner, this team, the next man up mentality, has not stopped all season long.
There's one thing that Nick Sirianni's done as a head coach that I don't even believe Andy Reid did in his tenure here. And that was the idea that I know that for the most part, you're always going to count on Nick Sirianni's teams being ready to play no matter what week it is. No matter if it's a weak sister, no matter if it's a strong opponent, they're going to be ready to play. They're going to have a chance to win. They're going to go out there. He's done a masterful job, and they've done it good. The players, yesterday was just, that could have been ugly. That could have been a rollover.
Yeah.
They took it seriously.
Oh, they did.
The guys, and it was interesting to watch.
But if you were to ask me, forget the road ahead. Eagles versus Packers, Eagles versus Vikings, Eagles versus Lions. I feel comfortable in saying I believe the Eagles win any of those games. Now, in Detroit's tough. Look, the worst thing did happen yesterday. The Lions getting the 1 seed.
Sure, that's the
because
worst.
I do believe that week of rest for them is very, very necessary. So I really wanted the Vikings to beat the Lions so that the Vikings could have the 1 seed. I thought the Lions would end up going into Minnesota and beating them in the playoffs, and then they would have to come to the link. So the worst possible outcome for me did happen yesterday. But I'm not going to lie to you, John. I watched that first half yesterday, and then I dozed off. All right, we get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I watched that first half last night. I'm like, all right, this team is beatable. The Vikings just didn't jump on the opportunities that they had. 3 red zone trips within the first half, and they come away with 6 points.
I'm not concerned that the Eagles are going to advance to the NFC title.
No, I'm with you.
And to me, I said that in the summer. I feel better about it this morning after watching that regular season and then seeing how the field breaks up.
Right.
I'm fine with that.
Now you just keep your fingers crossed and hopefully the Lions get knocked off, and it'd be great to see the NFC Championship game here in Philadelphia.
That would be great.
All right, that was the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show, brought to us all by Von C. Brewing Company in Norristown. Check out their Key 3, the OG Pils legendary Philly Lager, a gold medal winner in the 2023 World Beer Cup for Best American Pilsner, the Walking on Clouds, which is Von C's flagship hazy IPA, and the Vienna Lager. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You know what it is? It looks like it's Vienna outside right now. A little, snow on the caps of the mountains with all German ingredients. Visit VonCbrewing.com. Take care of yourself today.
I was a little distracted by the Von C because I am doing for the first time in my life.
What is that?
Since I've been imbibing a dry January.
Yeah, we're doing dry January too. We're joining you on that one.
And when I do this read, my mouth salivates because I want every sip of beer that I can find right now.
I don't drink too much, so it's not a big deal for me. But Von C, we'll be waiting.
I'm not like a walking alcoholic, but I do love my 4 o'clock.
You're more of a stumbling.
When Cooper, he eats dinner at like 4:30. So when he's eating, that's the first time I get to like decompress.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that first sip of beer is like, hallelujah.
You enjoy that?
I do.
That's good, though.
But unfortunately,
not during January.
Yeah, that sucks. My January is wet. More for me.
This guy yesterday, I don't talk about it.
Listen, man.
Right in front of me.
Got beers to drink.
Good for you.
Good for you.
The Eagles were playing a very important game.
Yeah,
I had to enjoy that game.
Oh, I'll tell you, yesterday was even harder because of that. Because the game meant nothing, I would love to have just had a few pops drinking that. Because usually when we're watching the games, I'm not.
No,
we're working.
Right. You're putting stuff down and everything like that. And they don't let us drink in the press box, which is really a shame. Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, H&H Heating and Air Conditioning. They're the best. Make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives.
All right. Well, that was day 1 of the new commercials.
Get used to the new clock.
I hope everyone loved the quickness of it. We enjoyed the quickness of it. And we'll be providing you more content day in and day out as we get you set for Eagles-Packers. The matchup is set Sunday, 4:30.
It's going to be a big week.
What do we got tomorrow, Johnny?
Tony Dungy is going to join us this week,
that.
Which is going to be good. We have Amy Fadul joining us.
Jeff McClain.
How about Jeff McClain, Tony Dungy, Amy Fadul?
It's a pretty big day tomorrow.
I think it's a big day, and Matt Ryan later in the week and more. So
I just love that the Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning head coach agreed with me last
Oh, no,
week.
he completely agreed with you. He disagreed with me 100%.
We'll talk to them all tomorrow. We'll talk to you as well.
Some people get dumber with age. I don't know. We'll ask Tony.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell him that you said play that clip.
Don't. He'll
play
kill me.
this clip tomorrow for him. Mike Missanelli Show comes right next, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.